female.
And it's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's start in here.
Good morning, good morning. These lefties out here losing it. Entertainment and sports, they can't get it right. Go woke, you go broke.
Italy, where the Winter Olympics are underway. This is a country led by a staunch conservative and Trump ally, Georgia Maloney. Likely the most popular leader in America right now is Georgia Maloney, a woman who has cracked down hard on illegal immigration. Perhaps some of the self-delighted flocks in the US Olympic team are unaware of these facts because they are carrying on like the US is the only country where immigration laws are enforced. Let's hear from some dude called Hunter Hess, another one disgracing the great Hunter name. Here is the freestyle skier emoting at a press conference.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think.
Good morning, good morning.
It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't. If it aligns with my moral values, I feel like I'm representing it. Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S.
Really, dude, just what sort of a self-delighted simpleton is Hunter Hess? He has mixed feelings about representing his country, then jump on the first plane home, son. Does he really expect the Trump administration, elected in a landslide, to alter its election promises his fellow Americans voted for so he can feel good about representing his country? Let's hear from another virtue-signaling Olympian with delusions of grandeur. This is Chris Lillis. He's heartbroken about criminals being deported.
I feel heartbroken about what's happened in the United States when it, I'm pretty sure you're referencing ICE and some of the protests and things like that. I think that as a country, we need to focus on respecting everybody's rights and making sure that we're treating our citizens as well as anybody.
Hey, good morning, good morning.
But possibly the worst bit of delusional moral posturing goes to...
What you think about the Super Bowl halftime show? I didn't get a chance to watch it, none of it.
Like a lovable, irrational gal.
It's been
I heard it was no English. It was all Spanish, I heard. Amazing.
It isn't the first time that we've had to come together as a community and try and fight for our human rights. And now, especially, it's not just affecting the queer community, but many other communities.
Really, Amber? Tell me exactly how the queer community is under attack. Just because mutilating confused kids with irreversible procedures is frowned upon now because boys and men can no longer steal women's places.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Sport.
Happy Monday.
Talking
You guys think about the Super Bowl?
Sport just for women. Remember when this character with male chromosomes was beating the bejesus out of a bunch of women and getting a gold medal for his troubles? Those of us call
Hello, Ed here. Good morning.
of Ilhan being allowed to compete in the women's boxing at the Olympics were attacked. I was even threatened with legal action for stating the obvious, and other women were also attacked, including Megyn Kelly.
She was born a woman, lives as a woman, and boxes other women. So what is the argument against that?
This is such an outrage. Look at this. This is a man. This is a man who is competing in the boxing tournament for women.
No, she's not. She's a woman. This female boxer is female. Can we stop this before America turns into a presidential campaign issue?
Well, you'll be shocked to learn that Imam Khalif is indeed a man. And
There you go. See? You can't trust the news. He was so into it. Like, yeah, that's what it is. And see? Fact check. There you go. Good morning, good morning.
And the Algerian has admitted to having male chromosomes. Give back that gold medal, dude. Now let's get to Bad Bunny's performance at the Super Bowl. It's a subject of much debate. The political activist who likes to wear dresses occasionally is said to be the biggest star.
Yeah, that stuff got to stop.
That's what the powers to be at the NFL claim. But let's see if the actual players taking part in the game are fans of Bad Bunny.
What's your favorite Bad Bunny song?
I already got one. Sorry about that.
I don't know who that is.
I've never heard of Bad Bunny. I don't know who that is.
He's performing at halftime.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I don't know no Bad Bunny song.
Do you think they made a mistake?
I believe so. I ain't never heard of bro till now.
I don't have.
I don't listen to him. I don't know any song. Oh, what the heck's it called? I blanked out the name. I don't think I have one. I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't really listen to that, but I can't. I really do not know any of them. I don't know.
Roger Goodell should have asked his players, like, hey, who you guys like that's popular? Because none of these guys, I know there's only a handful of them, but they don't know who he is. And that's crazy. And he got 90 million followers. And none of these players don't even know of him. That's amazing. Let's continue.
Now, it's not just Bad Bunny who loves preaching politics and a hard left agenda. The NFL also picked has-been pretend punk rockers Green Day.
Right, I ain't watching none of that either.
Painfully mediocre and lame Green Day to perform at the Super Bowl. Let's look at some of their recent work. Yes, changing the lyrics to their old songs to slam MAGA. How brave. There are no new songs anyone knows. They jumped the shark around 1997. But now they're interrupting their lame concerts to deliver political messages like this.
This goes out to all the ICE agents out there, wherever you are. That job here. Because when this is over, and it will be over, at some point in time.
What's wrong with his hair?
See y'all? See the feather? Jay Vance? Donald Trump? They're gonna drop you like a bad Come on, do something about it.
How does he manage to look like a middle-aged lesbian, about as punk rock as a pumpkin spice latte? Well done, NFL. That's who you have selected to unify the nation. Talk about not
What up,
knowing
user?
your audience.
Good morning.
Let's bring in Newsweek's senior editor-at-large, Josh Hammer. Josh, the NFL continue to treat the great majority of their fans with utter disdain.
Rita, this was the most left-wing Super Bowl that I have ever pursued in my entire life, and I am a die-hard American football fan. I've been watching Super Bowl since I was, probably 5, 6 years old. This surpassed any other one. And of course, we have a game that's being played in San Francisco, the epicenter of the American left-wing universe.
Good morning, Urban. Good morning.
Are in Seattle and from Boston, Massachusetts, to liberal titans here. You had Green Day, you had Bad Bunny. I mean, the whole thing was just an utter absolute abortion, an atrocity.
It's crazy.
The Bad Bunny halftime show is going to get the headline, rightfully so. I mean, Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, is frankly just utterly commie trash. But the silver lining, Read, of all of this, silver lining of Green Day, who is exactly as you say they are a radical left-wing ideological group of washed up, mid-50, 60-year-old lesbian-looking rockers. But between that,
all that money he made in America. You can't make that money he made in anywhere else, but he made it in America. And you guys hate America. That's crazy.
Saying a word in English. I was ready to punch a wall. It was utterly insane. I mean, it makes me just genuinely, my blood was boiling. But the silver lining here is that Donald Trump's ratings are probably going to spike in response to it, because the people will see this, and they will see that this is the opposition, that they celebrate the multicultural agenda, they celebrate the desecration of American heritage, they celebrate the notion that America will dystopian future not be an English-speaking country there. They love that there. So frankly, I think that ICE actually could see a spike in approval rating as a result of this. Donald Trump, I think, will probably benefit as well. Rita, that's silver lining. But frankly, this whole Super Bowl, frankly, the football game stunk too. It was a very boring game. But the entertainment was
crazy. Green Day tripping.
Atrocity, that is a strong word, but I think it's a very popular way to describe what happened today. Can we also talk about the Black national anthem that was performed before the game?
Not necessary at all. Come on, y'all.
Josh, why does one demographic group have their own
Subscribe.
anthem
Good morning. Subscribe if you haven't. Good morning.
Anthem that is for every American?
Rita, one of my producers from my show texted our show chat just before the game started. He said, I'm getting ready for the black coin toss. How about you guys? I mean, it's just so silly. It's just so utterly stupid. Frankly, it's not the first time the NFL's done this. They've actually done this in previous Super Bowls as well. Memory serves, all since St. George Floyd, our great late martyr, died in May 2020. The NFL has been all lit on the woke agenda. They have end racism and blaze.
No, I'm not a veteran.
It's really just awful, and it makes you wonder, Rita,
No,
just
I'm not a
what they're
veteran.
seeing that the consumer is not seeing, because football is like the most red-blooded American sport.
Just
other
love
than
America.
WWE, wrestling, and probably like NASCAR, right? I mean, the NFL football is a flyover country sport that is popular first and foremost in the South and the Midwest, in disproportionately MAGA parts of the country. I'm sure there are plenty of liberals who like football too, but I mean, just a total misreading of the audience.
White grievance.
When it comes to
No.
the so-called Black National Anthem, can you imagine if you had a white national anthem? I mean, everyone thinks.
No, I'm a conservative Republican, black conservative Republican.
You would never do it because you recognize intuitively how utterly insane it is. The national anthem in America is for everyone of all religions, all sexes, all sexual orientations, all skin colors there. Blacks, whites have fought and died for that flag. They're the Tuskegee Airmen in World War II. It's just awful. It's just absolutely awful. This is where the NFL.
I'm a Bears fan.
Frankly, it makes me again kind of a lifelong football fan.
I'm glad we beat the Packers.
Not the game then.
Well, I tell you, if they want to redeem themselves next year, have a country music-led halftime
HB,
show.
you're right, man.
It will
You're right.
absolutely be brilliant if they select the right
That's why people keep
artists,
coming to
and,
America. They know they can make things
fans-
happen here in
the fan
America.
base will actually enjoy it rather than wondering what in God's name is happening. Now, I'm going to do a full breakdown of all the Super Bowl craziness in tomorrow's show. But, Josh, can you explain what is happening here? This is Patriots wide receiver Mac Hollins.
No, that's not what they
showing
said,
up
Urban.
to
Not
the
at
Super
all.
Bowl.
I didn't take it
He's
that
wearing
way.
handcuffs.
The
a
national
Chris
anthem is what I'm saying.
jumpsuit,
Is what it is
and
already.
a Hannibal Lecter style mask, no shoes. What is happening, Josh? I could not work out what this meant.
MAGA.
The person makes two of me from being very candid to the audience. It was actually my wife who flattered to me. I totally missed it. My wife found this video for me and said, "Honey, what the heck is going on here?" I mean, he's clearly making some sort of political statement. It's not entirely clear exactly what he's trying to say there. I presume it's some sort of ICE open borders.
You a Packers fan? Okay, that's what's up.
Decarceration agenda.
Yeah, I'm a Seahawks fan too.
His game was in San Francisco. San Francisco, the 49ers.
I like Taylor Lockett. He has the same last name as mine. Taylor Lockett.
Many years there. So, I mean, this was kind of the moment with Green Day, with Bad Bunny, and the backdrop of Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom and Colin Kaepernick, beloved season two. This is the time to pull out all of these stupid stunts. Even the stunts, frankly, don't make any sense there. So, again, it's so cryptic and it's so utterly dim-wit and low IQ that we can't even figure out what he's trying to say there. It's clearly some sort of anti-ICE, anti-incarceration, anti-prison, anti-MAGA, load of just utter gobbledygook there. But it failed, and frankly, what's worth.
How you doing, Rain, son? Thanks for joining in the chat. Good morning. Thank you, guys.
So, but this is some sort of just utterly idiotic attempt to get the man, to get the political establishment there, and the fact that you and I are still having a hard time figuring out.
Thank you guys for joining in the chat. Appreciate it. The name is Deontay. Thank you guys for joining the chat.
Well, no one seems to know precisely what he meant by that. Maybe he'll explain it, but I did have a look at some left-wing publications as well to see if they had an idea what he was trying to convey, and they were none the wiser. They had some weird ideas of what he could mean, but I think it was all just wishful thinking, a lot of that. Now, I want to stay on the sports theme. What do you make of all the political posturing?
HB, thank you, bro. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
American athletes at the Winter Olympics, Josh. What have you made of some of the commentary there about how they feel about representing America in 2026?
Thanks for subscribing. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And I am a big fan of the Olympics in general. To me, the Olympics are an opportunity to get beyond politics, to unite in the name of the nation that we all love. And, many of the great Olympics moments in modern Olympic Games history, certainly in American Olympics history, many of our great moments.
That's what the channel is about, common sense. Vote for common sense.
The Winter Olympics, who can forget the Miracle on Ice, 1980, when America, this this group of amateur hockey players defeated the best team in the world, the Soviets, at the height of the power of the Soviet Union there. I mean, these are the
Same thing here, Glenn. That's why I put it on first. Before I go to anything else, I put this on first to break off
to try to make some
other videos to play.
statement there. There's that old line that politics is supposed to stop at the water's edge, and there's quite a lot of truth to that. When you're representing your country overseas, there, just shut up and represent the flag. Represent men and women who gave it all to defend your freedom, to defend your right to go to Milan, to beautiful northern Italy, and to have 2 weeks off in the snow to do your thing there. I mean, how about a little respect there? So it's just awful. I will say that you can contrast this with the way that a couple of the recent American tennis players handled the exact same
So
thing.
English is not our national language.
In Australia, during
What?
you had the American
How was the Constitution
male
written?
player and the female player who were
I thought the Constitution was written in English.
by left-wing sports media, namely The Athletic, which is a New York Times own publication. They said, "How do you feel about representing America during the time of ice there?" And they both gave the correct response. They said,
Yeah, it was.
I'm not going there,
That was
because
definitely an
guess what?
insult.
I'm playing tennis.
Nobody
I'm
understood
having
what was
fun,
going on, so I
and
heard.
love my
I didn't watch
country.
none of it. They said they understand none of the halftime show, what was going on. Amazing.
Well, yeah, that pest of a sports reporter, the activist, just gave that same question to every American tennis player, and pretty much all
You
of
gotta
them.
think about it, he's an entertainer. That's all he's doing, entertaining the bullshit. That's the side he on, the side of bullshit, the woke
He
shit.
wasn't satisfied with that. He would keep going back.
Not good at all.
Coco Gauff, the highest paid female athlete,
Especially when it's being promoted towards the kids. That's the whole thing about it.
So she got all the
If you're an
coverage.
adult, I get it, but if it's towards the kids, that's not cool.
In Italy, this is a country led by Georgia Maloney, who's been described as the female Donald Trump. She's a staunch conservative. She's a good friend of the Trump administration, and she's cracking down on illegal immigration. So to be making those comments in Italy itself is interesting. Now, before you go, Josh, we've got good news. It seems like Kamala Harris is back. She dropped this odd little video on X. Tell me about Kamala 2.0. This
Right.
She still thinks she will be president one day.
I think so far they get like 25 million views overall. 5 million for halftime show. I think social media 20 million. It's amazing.
Party pro-grassroots voter registration, get people to the polls sort of operation there. Now, the very thinly kept secret is that she's doing this. She tried to amass things like a mailing ticks garbage. And if they really do decide to go with that, then
Hilla. She also wrote, "I am at your service. Just marry me." And this, "When are you going to employ me?" Also, and few, you still love me. Here's more from journalist Andrew Pierce.
5 days after that pervert was released from prison, Sarah Ferguson was taking her daughters, or offering to take her daughters, aged 19 and 17.
Oh, okay. The puppy show dog did. I didn't know.
With a pedophile.
That's amazing.
You could not make up what self-respecting mother, let alone Sarah Ferguson, would think that was an appropriate way to behave.
Let's bring in veteran broadcaster Dee Dee Dunleavy. Dee Dee, there's no coming back from this. She clearly knew of Epstein's depraved activities, but she's still engaged with him and even took her daughters to visit him shortly after he finished serving his sentence. Before I get your input, let's have a look at a few more emails Fergie sent Epstein, a convicted pedophile at this point. She wrote, "I have never been more touched by a friend's
that's right.
than
That's
your
right.
compliment to me in front of my girls. And this, you are a legend. I really don't have the words to describe my love, gratitude for your generosity and kindness." And this one, not sure yet, just waiting for Eugenie to come back from a shagging weekend. I mean, why would you speak like that to a man like Jeffrey Epstein and include your daughters, Dee Dee? I just do not understand this.
That's just nasty.
And it's all about
Nasty.
with these correspondence between the two of them, Rita. I think you can divide all the people involved or named in the Epstein files into two categories. Those who cut off contact with him after he was convicted and sent to jail in 2008 for child sex offences. But very much appears that Sarah Ferguson continued to be in contact with him. 2 days after he was released from prison, his assistant approached him and asked would he pay for flights for Sarah and for the girls to go to Miami. Now, we don't know that he did pay for them, but they certainly were in Miami a couple of days later. So the implication would be that he was paying for her to travel. And then we see other emails sort of after that, where he's asking for his business contacts to be shown around Buckingham Palace by Sarah Ferguson, and would the girls be there and would the girls be able to show them around. It's almost like she's pimping them out, and it's actually gut-churning. It's sickening. And I think the monarchy are very worried about her at the moment because there are talks she's speaking to a ghostwriter about writing some sort of a memoir about her time at Buckingham Palace.
And she's got nothing to lose now. Her reputation is in tatters with these revelations. The analysis of what these emails reveal is very scathing, so you can imagine she'd be very motivated to put her version of events forward. Now, Jeffrey Epstein was not so complimentary about Fergie. In an email from September 2011, this obviously isn't to Fergie, Epstein sends a link to the Daily Mail's coverage of Princess Beatrice's graduation from university, and he writes, "Pic of F from Friday," F being Fergie, "not the prettiest sight." Gosh, it's pretty harsh. Sarah Ferguson has not responded to any of the emails or the claims thus far, Dee Dee. And there are fresh details about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's forced early exit from the Royal Lodge. We've now learned by the Daily Mail's Barbara Davies that the final decision to evict the former prince was made during an urgent meeting between King Charles and Prince William a week ago, following the latest Epstein document dump. And also, in recent weeks, Fergie has been smuggled back and forth from the Royal Lodge, lying down in the back seat of a car.
Look, I think Barbara Davies wrote that Andrew's exit from Windsor was fittingly embarrassing, and it was indeed. Apparently the last straw was he was seen riding around Windsor, literally on a horse, on a high horse, waving to the public as though nothing had happened. So, and Charles was not having that. The King did not want him going on and interacting with the public in that way. Look, we have to remember that Andrew has never been charged or convicted, and he's always denied any wrongdoing, but the pictures and these emails would suggest otherwise. Some of them are quite stomach-churning, aren't they? And so it doesn't surprise me that Charles,
you get that from George Collins, the comedian.
Of his titles. He does still have the title of Duke, which is something that Charles can take away from him. So there's really nothing more that Charles can do to punish him. It's up to the police now, and there is a new investigation. Police have confirmed another woman has come forward, alleging that she was trafficked into the UK by Jeffrey Epstein, and she says she was even given a tour of the palace and tea the next day. So I think if anything further, or any more punishment is to come Andrew's way, it's going to have to come via the police investigation.
Jenny Dunleavy, thank you so much for your time tonight. And it's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's start in Italy, where the Winter Olympics are underway. This is a country led by a staunch conservative and Trump ally, Georgia Maloney. Likely the most popular leader in America right now is Georgia Maloney, a woman who has cracked down hard on illegal immigration.
Yes, he has, Johnny.
The self-delighted flogs in the US Olympic team are unaware of these facts because they are carrying on like the US is the only country where immigration laws are enforced. Let's hear from some dude called Hunter Hess, another one disgracing the great Hunter name. Here is the freestyle skier emoting at a press conference.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think. It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't. If it aligns with my moral values, I feel like I'm representing it. Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S.
Really, dude? Just what sort of a self-delighted simpleton is Hunter Hess? He has mixed feelings about representing his country, then jump on the first plane home, son. Does he really expect the Trump administration, elected in a landslide, to alter its election promises his fellow Americans voted for so he can feel good about representing his country? Let's hear from another virtue-signaling Olympian with delusions of grandeur. This is Chris Lillis. He's heartbroken about criminals being deported.
I feel heartbroken about what's happened in the United States when I'm pretty sure you're referencing ICE and some of the protests and things like that. I think that as a country, we need to focus on respecting everybody's rights and making sure that we're treating our citizens as well as anybody with love and respect.
But possibly the worst bit of delusional moral posturing goes to figure skater Amber Glenn, who makes Tonya Harding look like a lovable, irrational gal.
Yeah, it's been a hard time for the community overall under this administration. It isn't the first time that we've had to come together as a community and try and fight for our human rights. And now, especially, it's not just affecting the queer community, but many other communities.
Really, Amber? Tell me exactly how the queer community is under attack. Just because mutilating confused kids with irreversible procedures is frowned upon now because boys and men can no longer steal women's places in women's sport. Talking about keeping women's sport just for women, remember when this character with male chromosomes was beating the bejesus out of a bunch of women and getting a gold medal for his troubles?
That's
Those
crazy.
of us calling out the unfairness of Ilhan being allowed to...
If y'all seen that, that was brutal, man, what he did to that woman, man. It made no sense at all. Talking about he was a woman. That was a full-blown grown man. That's crazy.
Compete in the women's boxing at the Olympics were attacked. I was even threatened with legal action for stating the obvious, and other women were also attacked, including Megyn Kelly.
She was born a woman, lives as a woman, and boxes other women. So what is the argument against that?
This is such an outrage. Look at this. This is a man. This is a man who is competing in the boxing tournament for women.
No, she's not. She's a woman. This female
That is a man.
is female. Can we stop this before America turns into a presidential campaign issue?
Well, you'll be shocked to learn that Ilhan is indeed a man, and the Algerian has admitted to having male chromosomes. Give back that gold medal, dude. Now let's get to Bad Bunny's performance at the Super Bowl. It's a subject of much debate. The political activist who likes to wear dresses occasionally is said to be the biggest star in music. That's what the powers to be at the NFL claim. But let's see if the actual players taking part in the game are fans of Bad Bunny.
Your favorite Bad Bunny song?
I already got one. Sorry about that.
I don't know who that is.
I never heard of Bad Bunny. I don't know who that is.
He's performing at halftime.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I don't know no Bad Bunny song.
Do you think they made a mistake?
I believe so. I ain't never heard of bro till now.
I don't have.
I don't listen to him.
I don't know any song.
Oh, what the heck's it called? I blanked out the name. I don't think I have one. I don't know that one. That's a tough one. I don't really listen to that, but I
Amazing.
do not know any. I don't listen to these songs. I don't know anything.
Now, it's not just Bad Bunny who loves preaching politics and a hard left agenda. The NFL also picked has-been pretend punk rockers Green Day, the painfully mediocre and lame Green Day, to perform at the Super Bowl. Let's look at some of their recent work.
Well, maybe I'm
I mean, he's clearly making some sort of political statement. It's not entirely clear exactly.
So another day, another Democrat scandal.
Switching it up for you
To
guys.
be quite honest, it seems like I'm in the wrong business here. I may need to listen to some of you and take a trip down to DC because these mother lovers are getting filthy rich. I mean,
These politicians go in making that what 100,000. Now they worth 300 million. That's amazing.
filthy, stinking rich. This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sure you guys.
Yeah, I definitely watched it. Go ahead, did
all that. So
ACDC.
on
Hell
the
yeah.
topic of discussion for today is Ayanna Presley, Democrat Congressmember Ayanna Presley, because once again, we have another member of Congress whose net worth went from negative to all of a sudden millions of dollars. Yeah. With that being said, let's jump into a couple of clips I have for you guys. Check it out.
Did you make all this income from the rental property?
Sir, I submit a financial disclosure just like everybody else. There's nothing to see here. Thank you.
Is it appropriate for members to make so much money when they're in office? Should there be rules? Financial disclosure reports show that the wealth of Presley and her husband Conan Harris swelled from $12,000 in 2019 to as much as $8 million. 5 rental properties earn them up to $350,000 annually.
That's
Presley
crazy.
once advocated to suspend rent.
5 rental properties? How much? $350,000
annually. Presley once advocated to suspend rent during the pandemic. She pushed
Right.
policies for struggling homeowners.
Baseball players would definitely understood Bad Bunny.
Remain housed.
Presley's husband is an ex-con who went from serving a decade in jail before they were married for drug trafficking to raking in up to $1 million a year as a business and management consultant.
Bro, there's no way 5 properties nets you $350,000 a year. Like, unless these properties are like in.
He said how much Donald Trump made. He lost billions being a president, and he gave his money away.
I mean, we're talking for 5
That's what they say.
We talking like an exorbitant amount of money. Let's hold on. Let me break that down. 350 divided by 12 divided by 5. Yeah, we talking almost $6,000 a month per property. $6K. Like, are these properties like in New York?
Right.
Goddamn New York. Okay, but then also, how'd you get that kind of cash? Because to buy a property in New York, to even be able to rent it out, that's a crazy amount of money. And you know,
Good one, Stone.
Here's a little tidbit that a lot of people don't even think about. People like Ayanna Presley, right, advocate for these rent freezes and everything. When they do it, take a look at the bill that would actually freeze the rent, right? I guarantee you the rental property owners still get paid, and they get paid from tax dollars. They get paid from the government. So it's
subscribe. Thank you guys. Good one. Subscribe.
See what I mean? See, read the fine print when these Democrats be out here. Oh, I just want to help the people. Yeah, okay. If you want a rent freeze, then it's a complete and total rent freeze.
Right, in both terms he did that.
Our
Right.
tax dollars don't go towards paying
Not getting paid.
rent whatsoever. There's a complete and total rent freeze. I guarantee you, if you did that, all of these Democrats who are advocating for rent freezes wouldn't advocate.
Thank you guys. Blessings, everybody. Blessings. Thank you.
Anyway,
let's grow together, everybody. Let's grow together.
Some lawmakers resist restrictions on outside earnings. Do you think that there should be changes, some different rules about what members can make while they're in office?
These are presumably right-wing reports designed to try to undermine our members.
Thank you. Name is Deontay. Thank you, guys. Let's
But other
continue.
members worry about their colleagues cashing in on congressional service.
The idea that people's net worth balloons at that level is yet another erosion of public trust.
There was one of the first aphorisms I learned is politics is the art of turning influence into affluence.
Now, the money also followed Preston.
Politics is turning influence into affluence. Hey, listen, with the way these people's net worths are ballooning, yeah, I might have to join the party, y'all.
Don't do it.
Listen. Listen. I mean, you got individuals, insider trading, obviously insider trading. Nothing has ever happened to them. You got these individuals turning their obviously influence into millions of dollars. All right. I mean, what? 12,000. She went from 12K, or I think it was 12K to 8 million since 2019. Now, if that ain't the come up of the century, then I don't know what is. Like, what? That is crazy. That is crazy. Off of a salary of $175,000 a year. How in the fuck do you pull that one off?
Amazing.
All right. I might be throwing my hat in the ring, rich for Congress.
Damn.
This is crazy. I mean, genuinely, like, that is crazy, y'all. That is crazy. Like, genuinely mind-boggling. 12,000 to 8 million.
Amazing. There's some real good trader
In
deal
what,
stuff
6
going on
years?
now.
That is nuts. That is nuts.
This is a Fox News alert. It looks like Ilhan Omar isn't the only Millionaire Squad member. Our team dug into open secrets and financial disclosure reports. What we found is that when Ayanna Pressley was elected to Congress back in 2018, she had a negative net worth. Fast forward to today, she's worth $1.3 million with assets worth up to $8 million. Now, that's a massive increase in just 6 years, especially for someone on a $174,000
I get it. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi, the same thing.
salary.
She the queen of
Impressive,
it.
really? But how did she do it? Well, part of its
Her
property
and
in
her hammerhead
2024,
husband.
Presley reported owning a Martha's Vineyard rental worth up to $5 million, as well as multiple Boston rentals worth up to $1 million each. Now, for context...
Now, okay, to be fair, this makes sense, right? This makes sense in terms of, you know, being able to generate $350,000 on rent. But then also you gotta look at the front end, okay? Because now we looking at the back end right here in terms of rent per month. That's the back end. What about the front end? Where did she get the money to buy these properties? Like, you went from a negative net worth, negative $12,000, to being able to purchase a Martha's Vineyard property, clean it up, fix it up, right? Depending on the shape. Typically, if you're going to buy something, it's going to be, you know, something that you're going to have to fix up. And on Martha's Vineyard, you're still not going to get it for a cheap price. You'll get it for a little bit of a discount because it needs to be. I'm sure. I would imagine it was a property that just needed to be updated.
Hey, Stone, you're right on that. That's the same thing happened with the Somalian in Minnesota. They had the right people, the right connects, and now they get caught with $9
So I'm sure she bought it
billion in
at a little
fraud
bit of a discounted price, updated
in jail.
which ain't cheap, and it's now ready to get out. So the question is, how is she able to buy a Martha's Vineyard property, which those properties are like millions of dollars, on a salary of $175? How does that even make sense? I'm curious. I really am.
Okay.
And then not only that, but then you went and bought 3 others. That part isn't adding up. But the amount of rent she's able to generate, that actually makes sense, because these are $1 million properties, so the rent is out the wazoo.
Back in 2019, she only reported owning 1 property in Boston. We're also learning days before Pressley was sworn into Congress, her husband quit his $92,000 annual Boston City Hall job to start his own consulting firm called Conan Harris and Associates. And as we read more of the Congresswoman's financial disclosure reports, we learn that her husband also saw his income jump while he was in Washington. His client list consists of some government organizations, including one with deep ties to the Obama Foundation. But as he started his firm and seeked new clients, he faced ethics concerns because of Presley's job in Congress. Quote, as Harris's days dwindled in the city's Office of Public Safety, he used his city-issued email account to pitch Walsh's chief of staff on staying on as a consultant. City officials say they did not solicit nor accept the offer, and state ethics laws bar municipal employees from knowingly using official resources for personal gain. Now, we asked Pressley for comment, and we even invited her on. She did not answer. But Fox Business anchor David Asman joins me now. He's been looking over this information. And David, there's nothing wrong with gaining financial resources. We see this a lot in Congress, but there are questions.
That's another thing too. These consultants,
Right, get your hustle on. That's how you do it. It's all how you
so
do it.
obvious what's going on here. At least to me, it is. I feel like it's obvious what's going on here. Consultant. That's money laundering to me. When everybody says, "Oh, I'm a consultant," you know, and it involves anybody in Congress, I automatically think money laundering. Money laundering. What are you consulting? Like, any exorbitant amounts of money that they're being paid to consult. Bro, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Nobody's paying that much for consultants. Oh man, if I needed
Democrat different,
I would just
right?
pay my employees a couple extra dollars to consult. Like what? Why would I pay some outside person? You know, I don't know. That doesn't add up to me. But y'all let me know how you feel about it in the comments. All right.
Yeah.
Well, and you go back to the
Subscribe, everybody. Good morning.
movies began. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. I mean, it's happened for a long time. It happens in both the right and left. But what's so rich is that this is coming from anti-capitalist squad members. You know, people who spent their life denigrating our capitalist system and saying how bad it was. In fact, Congresswoman Presley came out with an ex-post just a year ago. She and her fellow squad members, of course, constantly condemn capitalism, but she says Donald Trump and Musk want big banks and bad actors to run rampant and take people for a ride. They want to pillage the government and make themselves rich. Well, she's the one who's pillaging the government. Now, again, we're not suggesting she's going in and
appreciate it
like that, but the fact that she got rich off of her contacts in government,
thank you, user. Appreciate you.
Consulting with members of the business community and others, perhaps some people who were taking grants. That's, by the way, we saw that with Lee Zeldin, the EPA commissioner. When he came in, he found out that right before Biden left office in December of 2024, he was spending billions of dollars. A lot of that money was going directly to friends, to acquaintances within the Democratic community that learned how to go in and write grants that would get accepted, making millions and millions of dollars each one of them. So this has been going on for a while. I should mention that.
Yep. I've heard about that too. How Biden in the last days, right, and weeks, was just throwing out money left and right. And the crazy part about it is he did it in such a way that technically it's legitimate. There's nothing you can do about it, right? It's
thanks for the likes, thanks for the subs. Thank you guys.
It technically is legitimate business. Like you can't go back and be like, oh yeah, you guys are doing some fraud. Technically, no, they're not. Now we know what it is, right? What it actually is, allegedly. What it actually is. I gotta say allegedly, of course. But yeah, man. This stuff runs deep. And that's why I've always said, when it comes to this stuff, and I see people upset with Uncle Trump, because certain people that we wanted and expected to be arrested and thrown in jail aren't or haven't been. And it's like, this thing it runs deep. And there's Republicans tied in it as well. Okay?
Yeah.
So-called Republicans. I'd call them rhinos personally, but that's neither here nor there. And they're not going to let another one sink, because if they do, then they all sink. I'm sure at least in my mind, that's common sense to me, right? If I'm entangled in some stuff that I know I shouldn't be, and I don't know, we can throw out a name, any name, John Thune, right? Somebody I don't really like all that well. Now I'm not claiming that he actually is involved in anything. I'm just throwing out a name, right?
Good morning.
Let's say I know John Thune is involved in something.
Happy Monday.
Stuff. When I go down for it, guess who else I'm bringing down with me? He's going down with me. I'm snitching.
Thank you.
I'm snitching. Y'all want to play this game? Y'all want to just throw me under the bus by myself? No, y'all doing the same stuff that I'm doing. Come on, John Thune. Come on with me. You know what I mean? So if they all know that, then they're all going to protect each other. They're obviously not going to get on camera and say that. Of course not.
Good morning.
So when it comes to these prosecutions and everything, one, it may never happen. And two, if it does happen, it's going to take a long time before it does.
Yeah.
Do I think some people will be arrested?
Thank you guys. Subscribe. Thank you.
To untangle all of the mess, because of course, things were done in certain ways to make it legitimate in some cases, and in other cases. MTG, thank you.
Good morning. Thank you.
May have been deleted, right? That's another thing as well. Why would you keep incriminating evidence on yourself if you know Trump's coming in office? Now, obviously, everything can't be deleted. Everything can't be hidden. So there are going to be some things there, but whatever you could delete and could hide, guess what you're going to do? You're going to do exactly that. You're not just going to leave it there for Trump to walk in and have at it, So I don't know, man. It makes sense to me. It's going to take some time before we see any true members of Congress go to prison.
Okay, studio, I got
for the
you.
crimes that they have committed, right? So be patient. We'll see where it goes. Hey, maybe it never goes anywhere. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles, right? Because these folks, they did it in such a way that it's virtually impossible to catch them because of the way that they did it and because of the connections that they have. And they're all intertwined in it.
Right.
Financial records at this moment for one Ilhan Omar and her hubby are being requested by the House Ethics Committee. James Comer.
Thanks, studio. Appreciate it.
Here earlier today saying he's demanding the financial information from companies linked to Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar's husband. His companies reportedly went from $51K to $30 million in 1 year with zero investor information. So he wants to know who's funding this. And who is buying access? Interesting word choice there. He said access. In other words, who's buying into these funds? Who's buying into this venture capital investment? And what are these investments that they're buying into? Is it just that it's a pay-to-play scheme where Timmy Minette says, okay, well, you want to get that feeding our future cash benefit from the federal government, Uncle Sam, you got to go through me. You got to go through Ilhan Omar. That's what they are considering right now. And these two have teamed up at an interesting time, considering that the day she announced her marriage was the exact same day that she unveiled the Feeding Our Future $250 million scam. They all came from her district. I'm sorry. But, it's looking a little suspicious, especially when the net worth suddenly goes to $30 million, like overnight within a year. James Comer wants answers, as does the rest of the Ethics Committee. And I want to point out it's bipartisan, 5 and 5. Here we go.
No problem, studio.
There's
no
a thing
problem.
called money laundering where people have businesses and they deposit, lots of cash. Again, I'm not accusing them of any wrongdoing, but she should answer a simple question. If any member of Congress is asked what business their family's involved in, I've never seen one fail to answer it. That's not a hard question.
Thank you. Subscribe.
My husband has a private equity firm and he's done exceptionally well in the last 12 months. She won't answer that question. And everybody in America suspects foul play here. Right. And again, we're going to find out. It's not going to be hard to figure out what business he's in and where the money came from. So that's going to be a central part of our entire Minnesota fraud investigation, because she is the leader in Congress, in the district, in the congressional district where the overwhelming majority of the welfare fraud is taking place. Her name, as well as the Attorney General Keith Ellison's name, have been mentioned as people of interest. I'll put it like that.
EMT, yep. Thank you, guys. Yep, thank you.
Okay, so those difficult questions start with the financial records themselves. Okay, so this is where we get into the nitty gritty. What they're going to try and figure out is whether or not this venture capital firm actually is investing in anything, or if you are buying into the venture capital firm, is that effectively buying access to one Ilhan Omar, which would be, of course, illegal. Okay, I repeat, illegal. And let me just tell you, this Timmy Minette does not have a very good track record. He's already been sued for fraud multiple times before, as we have discussed. Here is the new letter just out today. Mr. Timothy Minette, president and co-founder of Rose Lake Capital LLC, partner, Easy Street. Yeah, I love that. E Street crew. It just hit me yesterday. That's Easy Street, right? Because, hey, you got Ilhan, you got Minneapolis, you got the Hawala Network where you can take out, $700 million in the span of 2 years in cash in suitcases and take it over to Dubai. Woohoo! That's what we call Easy Street. I'm singing Annie now. It's a great song. Anyway, the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is investigating widespread fraud in Minnesota's social services program. Financial disclosure forms filed by your wife, Representative Ilhan Omar.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you, guys.
LLC and Rose Lake Capital, which
thank you guys. Good morning.
Ownership stakes in, went from being worth as much as $51,000 in 2023, everyone, to as much as $30 million. In 2024. How does that happen? Like, seriously, how does that happen? And why would he actually say that? Maybe because they need to have this slush fund, right? To disguise other investments. That would be the thinking.
Yep, she has a podcast.
Financial fraud, if this is money laundering.
She got over 1 million.
Given that these companies
19 subscribers. 1,019 subscribers.
Where their money comes from. That's
Won a couple awards.
Right?
She's a journalist.
They're small companies. They're not required to publish any of this information like a public company would be. So given that this is all very private, this sudden jump in value raises concerns that unknown individuals may be investing to gain influence with your wife. There, we said it, right? Media reports further suggest that you may have raised money from investors using misleading information, meaning some of those funds may have been obtained improperly. As a result, the committee requests documents and communications related to the finances of the winery, E Street Crew, and Rose Lake Capital LLC. Wow. Okay, this is really bad for her. Okay, I'm not kidding. And I know people are like, well, why hasn't it happened yet? Listen, it's gonna take a minute. Okay, they should have done this, frankly, 6 months ago. But I think it wasn't until they discovered there was such an intense amount of fraud there in the city of Minneapolis, in the state of Minnesota, to the tune of some estimates $19 billion. I don't think it was until then that they really clued in on this. I mean, we reported on this crazy increase in net worth. It didn't even make any sense. How does she go from nothing to 30 mil? And I was asking questions way back when, but it took a while. It's fine. Better late than never, right? But time's running out. We can't let the left win the midterms because she might actually have. She doesn't have a leg to stand on here. And the reason is because this House Ethics Committee is actually a bipartisan thing. And by the way, the Treasury Secretary, and we're going to get to him in a minute because he has just launched an investigation with the IRS into all the banks that are somehow housing any of the money from the fraudsters. Because if they can actually, think about this, guys, if they can point to the fraudsters and say, hey, you buddy, you who hosted her victory party at your Somali restaurant that night, it turns out that we see in your banking files, after you've been convicted of fraud for multi-millions of dollars, you actually bought shares in, say, Rose Lake Capital, that venture capital firm that
during COVID, she started that food program for the kids, and went from there with her.
It is to be expected, I should say. So that her spokesperson, a woman named Jackie Rogers, said in a statement that Comer's letter was a political stunt and part of a campaign, quote, meant to fundraise, not real oversight. Wrong. Okay? By the way, Ilhan, you get Democrats after you too right now. This is a bipartisan committee. The House Ethics Committee is bipartisan. Quote, this is an attempt to orchestrate a smear campaign against the Congresswoman and it's disgusting that our tax dollars are being used to malign her. How dare you malign her? How dare you? Don't you know? Like she's sacred territory? You can't malign her. She's from Somalia. She's an immigrant. She's a black woman. Oh, this is like forbidden territory. Not anymore. Thank you very much, Comer, going in for the win here.
Mr. Comer, you were in banking before politics, right? So she suddenly, in 1 year, after being worth a few $1,000s, is now worth $30 million. Have you ever seen anything like that? No. And the way the financial disclosure forms are, there's a big variation. But here's what we know. She went from zero to anywhere between $6 and $30 million in a year. Now, why is that relevant? First of all, I don't know many people that go from 0 to 30 without having a legitimate business. Her husband is in some type of finance business, but we don't know what it is. It doesn't appear to be private equity. It doesn't appear to be venture capital. So we just have questions. What exactly?
Oh, by the way, he says it's venture capital, but Comer's right. And we've looked at the site together, the website. There's no way that is a venture capital business. I mean, he may say it's a venture capital business because it's easier to slosh money around, but Comer's onto him.
Is the business that you're involved in. It was kind of like the same questions we asked Hunter Biden that he never could answer. But then, she won't answer any questions. The ethics committee is supposed to investigate members. We're not supposed to investigate individual members. But this business is in her husband's name. So we can investigate her husband. And we are going to do that because we're, as you know, in the middle of this Minnesota welfare fraud. And there's been a lot of accusations about a circle of influential Somali Americans that are benefiting from these financial scams in Minnesota. Her name is on the list. Now, she's going to get due process. I don't know if she's guilty, but what I know is she went from zero to anywhere between $6 and $30 million in a year, and she won't even answer a simple question like you saw there. What did you do?
Yeah. So in other words, that's not normal. You don't go and make $30 million valuation on a company. I mean, that does not make sense. She's now estimating this partnership to be worth $5 to $25 million, as well as the winery being up to $5 million. But the winery doesn't even exist, right? We were talking about that earlier. The winery, guys, is a real joke, because the winery is well in name only, I guess. Especially now, because it turns out it's no longer in operation. So I don't know.
Right, the website gone. All this stuff is gone.
Looking at this disclosure,
You worth $30 million. Your website should not be missing.
Which I keep saying this over and
It should
over
be
again.
easy to find.
You don't have $60 billion assets under management, because that would make you one of the biggest asset management firms in the country. Little Timmy boy, okay, so you're sky high. Now somebody said to me, oh, well, maybe he's trying to say all our different partners at various times in their lives have worked at firms that managed this many billion here and this many billion there, and so they could combine it all together and maybe get 60 billion. Nonetheless, that's still pretty fraudulent, don't you think? Because if I go to this website, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I invest with Timmy. My net worth will go up, right, if I invest with Timmy. So I'm looking at this saying, wow, they have 5 diplomats. They operate in 80 different countries. And oh my goodness gracious, they have $60 billion assets under management, AUM.
That's crazy.
That's a lie. Okay, that's just a lie. And it's a lie of extraordinary proportions. And for whatever reason, the guy's not even registered with the SEC, which is an investor, you would want that, right? You'd want to make sure if you're putting money with somebody that they have the proper certification to even do that. He doesn't. So this certainly seems, on its surface anyway, to be quite the racket. And this is why Ilhan has to answer these questions. Again, take a look. You
Answer
told
the
me
question.
this looks like private equity, or forgive me, venture capital. So in venture capital, you're basically a venture capital firm. You're going out there and you're soliciting investors.
Unlocking the secrets of real estate home mortgage loan. Real estate home.
And then you take that $100K and you go out and find a great company for them to invest in. And then they get some kind of money back from you when that company realizes some success. That is not what they're doing here. This is exclusive partnerships for global operators. What do you think that is? Partnerships. So yeah, they have to investigate this. And this guy is a complete, if you ask me, she's got no taste in men. Clearly he has no taste in women either. Maybe they deserve each other. But I'm just saying, because
All you guys always going to chat and name calling. Good morning. How you doing, co-side? Good morning. Thanks for joining the chat.
According to legal filings, was defrauding somebody.
You gotta leave. You can stay in the chat. Good morning.
$100,000 because he promised them they'd get a 200% return. Well, I mean, that guy who thought he was going to get a 200% return.
Subscribe.
You can't say he was the brightest bulb. I mean, again, if someone tells you they have $60 billion assets under management, you got to ask for some questions and some proof. So Timmy is, how do we say, as the kids say, sus. All right? Seriously sus. So here's the deal. If he's out there saying, hey, Somali restaurant owner, here's the deal. If you give me some money and you put it into my fund, I might be able to get a deal for you where, I'm making this up, by the way, this is hypothetical, because, innocent until proven guilty and all that. And she ought to be rushing down into Comer's office with all her forms and filings, because she ought to want to clear her name and say, no, my husband is an established business person. But instead, she's running from every single question. And every time they ask her something, she's like, no, that's racist. You can't ask me that. It's just because I'm a Somali immigrant. Anyway, so if he's soliciting funds and then claiming he can secure access or maybe get, somebody in on the Feeding Our Future deal or a mental health clinic above a Somali restaurant, that was a recent one they were trying to get $1 million for, that actually would be Illegal, okay? Illegal, and it could constitute wire fraud, false pretenses, conspiracy to defraud the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen. And it becomes worse if you're then relying on the influence of your wife, who is a member of Congress. If you are saying that you have somehow inside access, if you do have political connections and you're trying to pull those strings, now you're in real deep, hot water. If you've been receiving any kind of kickbacks or consulting fees, any kind of commissions based off of this, you're in big hot water. Okay, so the money laundering, that's another thing that they're looking at. And again, I just point out that she refuses to answer these questions. Here we go.
Into your net worth, you and your husband's net worth. They're claiming that it's risen rapidly. What's your response to what they're saying? Do you think they'll find anything in their investigation into your net worth?
Quiet, silence, nothing, zip, zero, nada. She does not want to say anything. But let me just say, she has said in the past,
User, I don't understand that either, user. Why?
Come around money laundering.
There's a thing called money laundering where people have businesses and they deposit, lots
Good morning,
of cash.
James.
Again, I'm not accusing them of any wrongdoing, but she should answer a simple question. If any member of Congress is asked what business their family's involved in, I've never seen one fail to answer it. That's not a hard question. My husband has a private equity firm, and he's done exceptionally well in the last 12 months. She won't answer that question. And everybody in America suspects foul play here. Right. And again, we're going to find out. It's not going to be hard to figure out what business he's in and where the money came from. So that's going to be a central part of our entire Minnesota fraud investigation, because she is the leader in Congress, in the district, in the congressional district where the overwhelming majority of the welfare fraud is taking place. Her name, as well as the Attorney General Keith Ellison's name, have been mentioned as people of interest. I'll put it like that. She's going to have some difficult questions to answer.
Okay, she's going to have to answer these difficult questions. He's demanding these answers. In addition to this, we also have to think about the payday, right? We've talked about this as well, because how do you pay your husband this kind of money? Timmy Mynette's firm received $878,000, which, by the way, is a lot for the 2 years before they were married. But it's nothing quite like the $2.8 million that she paid him to run her campaign. I mean, woo, okay? Like, that doesn't happen, guys. It actually does not happen. So much so that you had the Biden administration actually looking at her back then, because the Biden administration was like, why are you paying your husband $2.8 million? Oh, he just got in huge trouble because everybody's like, why are you paying your campaign manager $4 million? He had a $4 million sweetener if he could actually get Biden elected, which I keep joking was probably, not enough money. But everybody's like, that's a lot of money for a campaign manager. So why does Timmy Mynette make more than any other campaign manager in all of Congress? She's paying herself effectively.
Right.
I don't know how anybody doesn't quite see that one. So, yeah, Biden was investigating her, and then they let it go because they understood, you know what, we need the Somali community. The Democrats
need for the votes
in Minnesota, or else. It's the reason why we keep hearing the other Timmy Walz kept ignoring requests to really get to the bottom of this. He's like, no, I run in the FBI, And we've got whistleblowers that have come forward and said, no, he actually tried to make this whole thing go away. So it's not going away. And as much as Ilhan wants to tell you it's about, race, it's not.
It's called fraud. Fraud is bad. Fraud is not racist. Fraud has no color.
Thousands, let alone millions. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer tells Fox News an investigation is underway, writing, quote, the committee is working on addressing ethics concerns regarding Representative Omar and her spouse, and we hope to have an update soon. But Omar says she's being targeted.
Of course. Ever since I've gotten to Congress, they have been doing these sort of weird ethics investigations. None of them have yielded anything because I have been as transparent as I can be.
Subscribe.
Transparent, huh? I don't think so. I mean, you're the one who won't answer any of these questions. You're the one who just keeps saying it's because you're black and because you're an immigrant and because you're a woman. I mean, Ilhan, Omar, get out my small violin, will you? She's the victim if I ever heard one.
There is a lot of hate in this country for Muslims. There's a lot of hate in this country for Black people, especially Black women. And there is a lot of hate, severe hate for immigrants. And so I fit them all.
Yes. Well, it's a little bit more than that, because if you're actually doing something illegal, we have every right to investigate you, Ilhan Omar. I'm sorry. That's just the way it goes, okay? You better not be doing what we think you're doing. You better not, because you're going to go to jail for a long time. A long time. As you should. I mean, that's not fair. I mean, the president wants to deport you too. And by the way, I think Congress is going to go along with that. You got the Senate introducing new legislation for deportation. You've got the House also introducing legislation for deportation of these. New legislation is hitting the halls of Congress. Not just at Congress, but in the House of Representatives, also over at the Senate. They really want Ilhan Omar gone. I think we all do too. Welcome to the show, everyone. Good to have you here. I'm Trish Regan, and we've got big news. The Senate has just introduced new legislation that would make it a pretty serious crime to come here to this country as a migrant and to engage in any kind of fraud. And most especially if it's government fraud. And then, of course, well, the obvious sort of elephant in the room in all of this is one Ilhan Omar, who is being accused of possible money laundering. We have the House Ethics Committee conducting an investigation into her husband's business, which doesn't quite add up, shall we say, in more ways than one. And Senator Marsha Blackburn announcing today that $750 million has been stolen from American taxpayers, and she wants something done about it now, including deportations and removal of citizenship for anyone who engaged in this fraud. Listen.
Minnesota is probably up to $19 billion is what we're hearing. And then Dr. Oz has uncovered all of this fraud in healthcare and hospice in California. And that is being investigated. We're getting reports. Every senator is getting reports about fraudulent activity, defrauding the state and federal government. So I have filed the Immigration and Nationality Act update. It's called the Fraud Accountability Act. It makes all fraud, regardless of whether it's against an individual, a local, state, or federal government. If you are in this country on a work visa, a green card, permanent residence, or naturalized as a citizen, this will trigger a denaturalization and deportation hearing for you. And it cleans up that. It makes all fraud something that is a felony offense.
Again, Marsha Blackburn announcing
Trish Regan, she comes with it. She be coming with it. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining in.
Republicans who are highly frustrated with all of this. We heard lawmakers getting quite a dose of reality from an independent journalist, one that works with Nick Shirley, who conducted an investigation into all these daycares out in Minnesota earlier today. I want to go to David Hawk because he clearly outlined just exactly what's at stake right now.
Every one of these facilities is located in a commercial or industrial building. No play areas, bad neighborhoods, and several of the child care facilities had signage which stated they were open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Quality Learning Center, for example,
Ohio, right? Good
24
one.
hours. Who the heck brings their kid to stay overnight at a child care facility in a rough neighborhood? None of it made any sense. The leering misspelling was the final straw for me. That's the spark that ignited my full-on investigation.
Wow. And we learned all kinds of things. Remember? I mean, the Lyric Center, yeah, he's right. That was one of the best examples, most egregious examples of just how bad this had gotten. But basically what he found was that daycares, as he mentioned, were located in these industrial buildings, in commercial buildings, in bad neighborhoods with no play areas whatsoever. They claimed to operate 24 hours a day. They, were licensed, for example, for 99 children. But when you went and you looked at the W-2 tax information, what you saw was that there were no employees employees that would be sufficient for, say, 99 children. So why would you give them the license to operate in the first place? Multiple childcares were found to be registered at the same address, and yet only one daycare name on this sign. That's a clear example, right, of fraud when you have 10 daycares working in one facility, but you only have one facility there on the sign. But they're bilking the government and the U.S. taxpayer for all that money for all those daycares that don't exist.
MAGA.
Spelled signage, of course, Leering Center being quite infamous at this
Subscribe,
point.
everybody. Thank you. Subscribe. Thank you.
Yeah, up by Bates College, if anybody's spent any time there. Also, Washington
Thank you, guys.
State,
Good morning.
Ohio, which happens to be the second largest place where we're seeing cash reported by the TSA, leaving in suitcases, heading over to the Middle East. Second largest Somali population as well. So none of this is adding up. And we know, again, Marshall Blackburn pointing out that the fraud estimate is $750 million nationwide. We know that there are states like California where they're looking at the hospices. Those are a big concern. But of course, Minnesota being at the sort of forefront of all of it, which is why you have her now saying, hey, we got to take this more seriously. We've got to have
Ultra MAGA, definitely Ultra MAGA.
Easy to deport and
all I know is America.
Their citizenship, because
I've been other places.
Don't want to encourage this kind of
been in Jamaica, been in Mexico.
We saw from Representative Emmer most recently.
But America's America, baby.
Representatives, he also is introducing some similar legislation. Watch.
We're expanding and clarifying existing law to include anyone who comes to this country and defrauds the generosity of Americans and our government. And in this case, the Feeding Our Future scandal is one of the many in Minnesota, but that's the largest pandemic fraud case in the country.
Thank you. Subscribing. Thanks for the live. Thank you.
90 people were charged.
Name is Deontay.
5 of them are from the Somali community. If you come to this country, and I understand that in Somalia, you got to lie, cheat, and steal just to survive. But if you come to this country and you continue to lie, cheat, and steal, you should not be allowed to maintain your citizenship. You should be denaturalized and shipped back to where you came from. And by the way, that would include marriage fraud.
Whoa! Okay, so that was a pretty direct hit
Yes,
at
USA.
her. He kind of went where Marshall maybe wasn't quite willing to go and called her out entirely. One, for the marriage fraud, and we can talk about that because that actually is a big, big deal. And they could get her right now. You don't need new legislation on that one because if she and...
Thank you guys for the gifts. Thank you for the gifts and the super chats. Thank you guys.
fact, married her brother, as it is alleged. And by the way, the New York Post and the Daily Mail have done some great reporting on this, and they've spoken to many people within her community that have come out and made these allegations. If this, in fact, can be proven out, and by the way, you don't need a DNA sample to do this. You could actually go back and talk to community leaders. You could go back and get information from, for example, her original filings, his original filings. There may be some discrepancies in there. If that actually proves out, boom, presto, she's gone already. Okay, that's enough. But they're trying to make this more mainstream and facilitate it, because the way the law currently reads, it is actually a little bit more difficult, right? So if you come to this country, you get your citizenship, and then you do a whole bunch of bad stuff and you defraud American taxpayers of millions and millions and millions of dollars, well, they don't quite have the recourse yet. That's what they're concerned about. Maybe you get her on marriage fraud. You might be able to get her on that, because you actually can't misrepresent your own U.S. citizenship to then go and use that to have somebody else come into this country that shouldn't be legitimately here. So that's one way they could get her, but they really want to make sure that they have something concrete. Again, let me go back to Representative Emmer, who's effectively joining the Senate, right? The two of them, you've got the Senate with one bill, and you've got Emmer with another.
Good morning, Ray.
This law would just provide that is a basis to denaturalize, take away your citizenship, and ship you back. And part of this is because I've got a representative in Minnesota, Ilhan Omar, who likes to go on national programs and play the victim. Yet the same representative goes to the University of Minnesota campus and in reality encourages violence against Jewish students. And she says, hey, we're citizens. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, guess what? There is something that we should be able to do about it. You should not be allowed to come to this country, take advantage of the generosity of Americans and the American government, and get away with it. If you commit fraud, you should be denaturalized and shipped back.
Wow. Okay. So
Damn.
that's the consensus right now. And I think pretty much everybody would agree with that. I mean, other than the Democrats and maybe Ilhan Omar herself. Ilhan Omar, who doesn't want you looking at anything, right?
Don't look over here.
You know, any of her husband's indiscretions. Somehow they just want ICE to go away. They want to take the story away from the fraud that was committed in the state of Minnesota or committed in the state of California or Washington or Ohio or Maine. They want to shift that away to, oh, big bad ICE. And big bad ICE is killing people in the streets, etc. Forget about the fact that you've got people who are criminals in jails. They're finally actually able to go into the jails. Imagine that. Thank you, Tom Homan. They're now able to go into the jails and get the bad guys. And they're, as we understand it, cooperating with ICE finally. And yet you've got these crazies, right? I don't know how else to describe them. All the women from the squad, and there's like a new member there I see. They're out there trying to say that ICE is this horrible, awful, awful thing. And that, by the way, gins up a whole other set of controversies that really, it aids itself in terms of these protests, etc. But back to the real story, because the real story is the fraud. And by the way, I think the real story is just exactly what the hubby, Timmy Minette, was doing with all his little businesses. I mean, Tim Walz admitted it, right? The other day, he said on a podcast,
Tim Hall is Mike from Big and Bad. Oh wow, that's a good analogy.
We've got folks trying to make
Here we go.
This. Absolutely, we're still getting moving forward. We've got a lot of folks that have now, I think, put those program integrity pieces in place. I'm feeling really good about that. This is, again, look, we have a well-run state. We have high quality of life. We did have people steal. We're now seeing other states have that too. But I said I didn't run to be called the governor. I ran to do the job. That's what I'm doing right now, and I'm really proud.
Amazing.
We had some fraud. Some people stole from us. We're seeing that they stole the whole bunch of other states
guys.
too.
Blessings.
That's
thank
not
you.
really the story. Don't look here, because the real problem is ICE. Whoa, guys. All right. I'm sorry. That's not the real problem. We know what the real problem is. ICE is trying to clean things up. And if you guys would work with ICE, maybe we could actually be on a better path to a better future. For goodness sakes. Barack Obama, okay, he sent more people home than any other president in history, more than President Trump, in fact. And yet these guys don't want to admit it. They want to ignore that reality. Why? Because it's politically expedient for them. And don't forget, things have changed since Obama. Back in the Obama days,
more
they
inclusive.
actually felt that there were some considerations in terms of the economy and in terms of labor and wages, etc., and that people were coming here and taking Americans' jobs. And so Obama was trying to protect against that. But the funny thing happened on the way to the forum. What did they figure out? They figured out, I guess we don't have enough people in blue states that are going to vote for us. So maybe, if we want to rig this electoral college a little bit better, if we want to make sure that we have more congressional representation, maybe
the
we
borders.
should be sending all of these people, millions of people,
That's
into
what
these
they
blue states. Listen to this. Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, speaking on CNN, and the CNN reporter is like trying to go there. It's killing her to do it. But the bosses must be saying, we need to be a little bit more measured. Have a little bit more, to each side. Walk it down the straight and narrow. Try and push some of these people on some of these questions. And she can barely get the question out, right? Like, she hates herself for asking this question. But then he completely diverts away from giving any kind of answer. The mayor of Minneapolis, ladies and gentlemen, Jacob Fry.
That during the Obama years, the Hennepin County Jail actually had a policy where they let an ICE agent keep an office there and allowed them to talk to immigrants. So the policy has clearly been, under a Democratic president, what now the Trump administration is asking for. I mean, big picture, do you think it's good policy for the jails to follow an ICE detainer and hand someone over if they've committed a crime? And again, this only happens after...
Yeah, she asked the question, but watch how she backtracks.
Served their time, for whatever crime they may have committed against the people of Minnesota.
What?
I mean, look, you're asking all the right questions here. And while I don't have full expertise in how the operations at the jail are conducted, again, that's not our jurisdiction. What I would say is that there are mechanisms to do this lawfully.
Right. In other words, the mechanism would be that you cooperate with federal officials. They have supremacy here. Period. End of story. So if you guys are going to get in the way of that, and you're not actually going to allow them to be able to go into the jails and be able to arrest, you're going to turn onto the streets people that have already been convicted of crimes.
That's
like,
crazy.
that makes any sense. They're here illegally. They've committed a crime, and they get to walk free. I mean, gosh, if you're a regular old American, you're not going to get that kind of treatment, right?
Right.
It makes
We got people in jail right now. They ain't
and
locking
she's
up.
pointing this out to him. Hey, Barack Obama.
They ain't taking care of.
Why is it different now?
Fight for them.
Because it's
the Americans fight for them.
But back to Minneapolis and their fraud, because Ilhan Omar is certainly in trouble right now as we look at both the Senate and the House.
All right, user. Thanks for joining the chat, man. Thank you.
Who have been convicted of fraud, and they specifically, at least in the case of the House legislation, are aiming this at one Ilhan Omar, whom they believe may have done some really sketchy stuff with her husband, the hubby, who
should be another Nancy Pelosi, huh?
Call a stellar track record.
Seems like she already is.
That's his wife for her. Okay, you think of that what you will. So he leaves his wife for her, and on the day they announce the marriage, they also announce that she's introducing legislation for the $250 million Feeding Our Future. And again, this guy is not exactly a winner because he's had a history of serious complaints. I mean, fraud after fraud case. He's been sued for fraud multiple times. We're going to get to that in a second, but this is why she is now very much in focus. They're concerned that she's been using her husband's company as some kind of money laundering op. But I mean, the winery, for goodness sakes, the winery, what do they say? The best way to make a few million is to start with many million and then have a winery. Usually you lose money in these things. So it's a good place to lose money if you're trying to do some money laundering, right? I'm just saying. It's one of the easiest ways. And he's had a few of these things. He had the cannabis company, he had the winery company, he's got the private venture capital firm that allegedly has $60 billion under management. Is $60 billion my you-know-what? Come on. I mean, that is absolute fiction if I ever heard it.
Wow.
I mean, he ought to be stopped right then and there. He's got a website where he says he has $60 billion under management. I mean, it's absolutely wrong. It's totally fraudulent. Here's a woman I want to share with you that went to his winery location in Santa Rosa, what was listed, of course, on the filing forms. And here's what she found.
Oh, good one, MT. They thought they don't drink, right?
See, this is Sweet Bee.
That's a good one. Why you got a winery you don't drink?
The address where Ilhan Omar's winery is. You can see that a different winery is here, Punchdown Cellars.
What does this note say?
E Street Crew does not make wine here. They were a client many years ago and have ceased operation. Their operating address is linked to this address like all other client wineries because of state and federal filings. So I wonder what else they have to show for it. What do you think about that?
I think they're just trying to keep as much distance between them and their business and Omar's as much as possible.
Yeah.
You guys just do a little more research before.
Well, yeah, that's what we're kind of doing right now.
Would you be so kind to
You know what this place is?
No, that's why we did
It's
that.
a custom crush place. A bunch of people use it. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like renting instead of owning.
Yeah.
So,
I see.
So there's about 40 of us in here making wine.
Yeah. We're just trying to just figure out what is really going on. We see that.
Next time, just call because there's nothing going on.
The pastor told us that Punchdown Cellars makes wine for 14 different.
They don't make wine.
Or crushes.
Crush it and you hold it.
We winemakers make wine in the same facility.
Oh, cool.
So,
because my family, we've been part of members of certain.
Right, amazing. Subscribe, everybody. Thank you. Great morning.
I don't own the place. Okay. I'm just one of the winemakers. Okay. And there's a bunch of us under one roof.
Awesome.
That's all.
What's your winery?
I'm not going to get into it.
Damn.
It's not that much.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't really seem very happy.
No.
Good morning. Thanks for joining the chat. That's why you said in the chat. I thought they don't drink. So why you can have a winery? That's cool. That's not good. You can't promote that type of stuff. It's against your religion.
I believe her name is Angela Rose, and she put that up on Twitter. And she went to that location there in Santa Rosa. So Punchdown Cellars, which is apparently the address that was listed, is some kind of, I don't know, let's think of this like
Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Pharmacy or just like an off-label. brand, right? They
just for the new people.
Wine.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Kevin.
Go in there and tweak it yourself. You heard him say that there were a bunch of different winemakers inside there, and so that seems to be what the business was doing. I kind of wonder if this was like the business.
Thank you, guys. Good morning.
There was another business that came forward and said, "Hey, we've made all this wine for you. We were getting all these grapes for you. $900,000 later, we don't have our payment." He apparently paid that in some way, shape, or form, but not without having to go through that lawsuit with more fraud allegations being made. Again, punched on sellers getting dragged into this. There was an article I found back in the New York Times in 2018. Maybe Timmy saw it too, and this was his big aspiration, or not really an aspiration, just a thought of, well, this would be convenient, right? I mean, I'm saying, per the allegations, if one were to be using a winery,
thank you.
Up, it's a great vehicle, apparently, just a great vehicle. And you find something like this, and then you can say you've got this winery, Anyway, the art of winemaking on the cheap. Young producers with little money and no vineyards face obstacles in building their businesses, but with maximum effort, it can be done. So he didn't have any land, he didn't have any wine, he didn't, there were no grapes, but he went and somehow outsourced it to this particular company, which enabled him to then have some kind of label.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you.
You go back and you look at these filings. I mean, what's interesting to me is, as you saw from that reporter, they have a sign on their door. The Ilhan Omar's E Street Winery. I was calling it Escrew or something because I was trying to get a little French flair. It's just E Street, okay? So E Street Winery is maybe that's it.
That's crazy.
Easy Street. That's a song from Annie. My first introduction to economics, learning about FDR in the 1930s. And by the way, it's a fabulous play. Fabulous play, but it's not the whole story. I think for the whole story, you're going to go read Amity Schleye's book, The Forgotten Man, about the Great Depression. But I digress. Back to the filing form here. We get the filing form for Easy Street Winery. E Street Crew, it was called. And they're saying that they're making $15,000, $5,000 to $15,000 off this thing, but it really wasn't functional anymore. So what's that about? Okay, Santa Rosa, California. Again, you saw the place in Santa Rosa. It's kind of just like a big factory, right? Where you can have individual winemakers there, but it's really not, shall we say, a winery per se. So again, lots of questions. I want to go back to another fraud case. They sued him. This one guy, Mead Mode, alleged he was promised 200% returns. Again, heads up.
Crazy.
Go check my financial website, 76research.com, if you're interested in investing. 200% returns. Like, do not trust that. If anybody ever offers you 200% returns, you run as fast as you can. This guy should have run so far from Ilhan and Timmy Minette, but he's thinking my net worth's going to go up with Timmy Minette. What do you know? 200% returns. Yeah, right. $300,000 he had to put down for those 200% returns, and he actually made a complaint. He sued him. He said that he was allegedly misled by this Timmy Minette and his partner, and the principal of his money had been gone. Eventually it was repaid, but they had to go through litigation, and the Minette says, oh, this is just a contract dispute. This is not actually fraud. This guy was saying it's fraud. I mean, there's just been a little too much of this. Again, I go back to, you had me at $60 billion assets under management. There's no way he has $60 billion. I said this before. In fact, yesterday, I was like, look, if he has $60 billion at this so-called venture capital firm, which, look at this. This is the front of it. Executive partnerships for global operators. That's not a venture capital firm. That's what you call a lobbying firm. That's working in 80 different countries. $60 billion assets under management, as though it's one of the largest venture capital firms around? I don't think so. So that's a lie. And, why is she being viewed as a potential money launderer? Well, you have the Hawala community within Minneapolis, and Hawala is a system by which you can transfer money, and it's very popular within the Middle Eastern community, and you find a lot of them using a lot of cash. I did a story years ago that was nominated for an Emmy, and actually the Treasury Department came out and announced that so many of the people that I had profiled as known terrorist financiers were actually, in fact, known terrorist financiers, and they took away any kind of rights they would have to come to the United States and froze their accounts, etc. But in my reporting, what I found was that they were transferring somewhere, just massive amounts of money. In fact, the largest source of funding for Hezbollah and Hamas in the world outside of Iran. And it was all coming from this little town, Ciudad del Este, Paraguay, is in this like jungle area that bordered Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay. And the reason they were able to do this, or partly the reason they were able to do this, is because of this cash network. So it makes it harder for Treasury to go out and find all of this. So I'm assuming, given that we know $700 million went in suitcases, this is what they told us about. This is what they actually declared to the TSA. It's the most money of any airport in all of America coming right out of Minneapolis. Given that we know that, and it happened over 2 years, $700 million between 24 and 25 going over to the Middle East. Dubai was one of the most frequent locations. These are these Hawala money transfers. So they do take this cash and they operate in cash. And there's a reason they operate in cash. By the way, typically in these cases, the organization that's doing the illicit stuff, the terror organization, is taking a percentage off the top. So you've got concerns about Al-Shabaab, terror financing coming right out of Minneapolis, and out of who? The U.S. taxpayer. Okay, so this is why this is such a big deal. You've got concerns about a quote-unquote money laundering operation, because it's quite possible that dirty cash could have been injected into the business, and you layer it, you shuffle it, you have all these different things within there, and then you have basically the ability to extract clean wealth on the other end. And this is the fear between the venture capital firm operating in 80 different countries and, of course, this so-called winery. People are suspicious.
Here's what we know. She went from zero to anywhere between $6 and $30 million in a year. I don't know many people that go from 0 to 30 without having a legitimate business.
Yeah. Do you? I don't. I'll tell you. On top of which, the guy doesn't pay his taxes. $403,000 per Forbes. Look at that he did not pay for this venture capital firm. I don't know how this really happens. Now, you can't ask her about this. Don't forget, if you ask her about it, she says you're a racist. This is so bad. You're trying to say that I can't have my shot at the American dream. Blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to say she married a loser, okay? He's kind of a loser. He's had multiple fraud allegations in the cannabis business before he got into the winery business. So good Muslim woman, in the winery and cannabis business. I don't know what to say about that. In the cannabis business, he was being accused of fraud and taking investors' funds. And this is one big fat loser of a guy. I don't know how else to say it. And we all know it. And she's a loser too, frankly, as far as I'm concerned. Anybody that would marry a guy with all these fraud allegations, okay? And by the way, marriage number 3, we don't know exactly what went down in marriage number 2, but marriage number 3, and she's in the winery business, and then so why is she wearing the hijab? I mean, don't tease us, okay? I don't think you're really very Muslim.
There's another word for it called crooked, and that's why we have to have an investigation into this. As the Biden administration started examining her finances and that of her husband, and so surprise, surprise, that investigation went nowhere. But it's amazing how people can go into Congress and then become these entrepreneurial investing geniuses, where they come in. She had under $1,000 of net worth.
Good morning, Matt. Good morning, Matt.
Suddenly now they're multimillionaires. Is there a money laundering operation here? And in terms of the firms themselves, they have a sketchy background. That winery in California that she and her husband own, where did that come from? Where's the wine there? And nobody can seem to find it.
Damn.
So there's a lot of smelly stuff here, and that's why in the American Dream,
subscribe. Thank you.
The American Dream, Tony Soprano version of the American Dream, and that is steal it from the taxpayers. And so
Studio, you tripping, man.
Here. So when somebody cloaks themselves in the American Dream, and so you have numbers like this from minus 1,000 to 30, 40 million, something is not right.
Yeah, unbelievable. By the way, Steve's going to come on the show with us next week, so you'll hear more from him. I'm just looking at some of your comments here in real time, and Don Baca is pointing out how nuts the markets are right now. Crazy vol. crazy ball, Don Baca. I know silver, he said up to 80 and then down, way down. I mean, Bitcoin's been all over the place. I was looking at Bitcoin right now. It's down below 68,000. So, wow, wild, wild ride. By the way, if you're interested in more about these markets right now, we're going to get back to Ilhan in a second. If you're interested in making money, I don't know, the real old-fashioned way, I really do encourage you to check out our portfolios at 76research.com. 76research.com. It's my investment research firm where, we're not like Ilhan, shall we say, in Minnesota without winning the Somali vote. So you understand how difficult this became. Well, even the New York Times has reported this one out. They were already looking at her under Biden's administration. So yes, this woman's in a heck of a lot of trouble. And her only answer is to go back to ICE. We've got to get rid of ICE. That's all she's got.
We cannot allow federal agency, one that was created for the purpose to terrorize, to function as an occupying force in our community. Real accountability starts with abolishing ICE, impeaching Kristi Noem, and rethinking how we enforce immigration policy in this country.
I'm still laughing about Easy Street. The fact that he named his company E Street. Easy Street. Woo! I mean, there's a lot there. Okay, there's a lot there. And we're going to stay on it because I think this needs to be exposed. Every single last bit of it. You know what else the president thinks needs to be exposed right now is just exactly what went down in Georgia. What do you guys think went down in Georgia? What exactly happened? He's worried that there were some illegal votes. I want to get to that because he spoke up today and said we're going to find out the truth soon. But first, quick shout out for one of our great sponsors. We love Balance in Nature. They've been with us here on the show for a long time, and I take the fruits and veggies. I'll tell you, this stuff is great. David, who works with me, one of my team members, is actually out of Florida. Sent me a picture the other day because somebody was visiting his house, and he's like, "Check, look at it, look at what's on the sink." And sure enough, it was fruits and veggies. Anyway, it's really important, right, to take care of yourself, to eat healthy and to drink lots of water and to exercise and all of that. But, you know, look, I get it. We're all busy. We can't always necessarily cook all these vitamins up, but that's where the Balance in Nature's whole health system comes in, because you have 31 different fruits and vegetables all there for you. And it's a great way to make sure that you're getting all of your nutrition. They have spice supplements, which actually mix very nicely into your drinks. It's great. And as I said, you can get the fruits and veggie supplements, which is...
So let's assume Russia had something to do with it. They said, no, Russia didn't have. So now they're saying Russia had nothing to do with it. Because if I say Russia, then it's perfectly fine. But you could add China and about 5 other countries to it. But she's done a great job, and Pam has done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it both. Haven't seen you in a couple of days.
Well, that was a very nice compliment from one Pam Bondi. A lot of people have sort of, myself included, been a little bit frustrated with Pam Bondi as of late, but the president has clearly not lost faith. Listen, the Fulton County thing is a big thing. It's a big deal. The Democrats can't believe this happened. They just can't believe it. They're absolutely aghast. And you have a lot of the folks down there trying to suggest that, well, the FBI is going to do something with the ballots. I mean, come on, for goodness sakes. But, you know, this is the craziness you're dealing with. Hey, Alphonse, good to see you here. He says, the Democrats and their flunkies have viciously attacked Tulsi recently. Why? She has complete integrity. You know, I like Tulsi a lot. I really do. I think that they're afraid of her, Alphonse, for a lot of reasons, maybe because she is so competent. Don't forget, she was a Democrat who switched sides, moving right over to MAGA after what? Hillary Clinton tried to insist she was a Russian spy. I mean, that's a heck of a thing to have said about you, but, you know, this is what they say about people. You're either a racist or you're a Russian spy. Russian spy or a racist. You know, take your pick. With Tulsi, she was a threat, therefore they had to take her out. What did they do? I mean, she really, I followed her career for a while, and I'm like, this woman's good. Like, really good. I mean, for a Democrat, right? She's really good. And so I've been very high on her since I first sort of noticed her. I want to say back in 2016 when she was just, you know, a regular politician from Hawaii. And she rose up through the ranks, and she actually might have had a shot at getting the Democrat nomination. So how did they take her out? Hillary made sure that you knew she might be a Russian spy. So, yeah, she's a vet, for goodness sakes. I mean, you're trying to take down a woman who is been out there putting her life on the line for the country. I don't think she appreciated that at all. And so I think she and Donald Trump are somewhat simpatico in this. They've both been accused of some pretty heinous stuff. You know, he's an agent for the Russians. That was all false. We know that. Same thing with Tulsi. It was all false. So yeah, they want to know what's going on. And again, they're hyperventilating. My gosh, they can barely even talk in Fulton County, Georgia right now.
Hey everybody, so here's an update. We're at the elections hub right here off Fairwind Road, and they did correct the warrant, and they are now in there getting the documents. 700 boxes of 2020 ballots and accompanying things that go with it, you know, absentee ballots, all the things, right? So our clerk of Superior Court, Shay Alexander, is in there making a log of everything that they're taking, but this is like all wrong. So we're trying to figure out a legal plan, and we should have one, whether that's an injunction, whether a motion to quash, I mean, whatever it is, we're trying to figure it out right now, because this is an
Scott, that's sad, man. That's real sad.
To keep you from trying to go to the polls in November, being too
How you doing, Andy?
to
Thank you,
change
thank
what's
you.
going on in
Yeah,
our
Trish
nation.
be
So
coming with
instead
the
of worrying about
receipts.
people dying in Minnesota, here we are at the Fulton County Elections Hub. So let me go find out what the legal plan is. Hi, everybody. Listen, I know you're watching the news. You're seeing a lot of stuff about this FBI raid at the Fulton County elections and registrations. I'm on the inside right now. So I just want you to be like real discerning about all that you're hearing from people who are on the outside of what's going on. I'm going to give you the truth about what's happening. So they served a warrant, the FBI, this is Trump, serving a warrant to go pick up the 2020 ballots, which are in a secure location inside of here, 700 boxes. The first warrant that they gave was incorrect legally, like they didn't follow the right procedure. They went back and they fixed it, and they came back, and now they are actually collecting the boxes. They are in the chain of command in Fulton County is that once they are archived, they become the possession of.
How you doing, Michelle? Good morning. Cars, good morning.
She is here, and she is with them, inventorying everything that they're taking. We, the commissioners, the chairman, the county attorney, are trying to figure out a legal plan as to maybe an injunction, a motion to quash. We don't know yet. We're trying to figure it out. We're getting all kinds of legal advice to stop this, because once they have the ballots, how do we then turn around and do something different when they've already got their hands on it? So this is an attempt to take your vote away. This is all about November 2026, about the primary on May 19th and then the November election. He does not want the midterm elections to take away his power. So he's trying to create chaos. So this is what he does. Chaos in Minnesota, chaos in Fulton County. We are a target. Protect your vote at all costs. I'm telling you, everybody always says your life depends on it. Oh, your life does depend on it this time.
Okay. Can we break this down for just a second? Gosh, she's really panicking. But how is it so scary?
Right, how?
To say, gee, what happened? Gee, were there anything?
Thank you. Subscribe. Thank you.
I mean, there are indiscrepancies that we should be watching for. You know, don't forget, this went from a civil case actually to a criminal case, because now the FBI is concerned that there was criminal activity. We don't know, but why can't you ask the question? Like, if you guys have nothing to hide, then so be it, okay? Like, don't worry about it. You got nothing to hide. You don't need to freak out. But if you do have something to hide, well, okay, I get it. I mean, so this is the concern. So there's a
thank you for subscribing. Thank you.
On X that allegedly is someone walking through some of these ballots in Georgia, and they're explaining that some of them were sort of, I guess, frankly copied and dropped in the, and granted, this would not have changed the election outcome, and that's why judges previously would never allow for any of this evidence to be examined. But now,
you said put Omar AOC. Oh man.
Say, hey, what went down? And this has become, in fact, a criminal case. They're looking at stuff like this.
And if you think that maybe that's, just a mistake or just a coincidence, here's the next one that shows.
Right.
Is written there. Republicans written there. This is ballot 61. This is ballot number 2, and then each one of them even has this little dot in the Fannie Willis.
Okay, and do you have more of those?
We have the entire batch. There's 62 images in here total, and I didn't even get a chance to go through all of them. But these are the most obvious ones, where it's clear that it's the same.
Wow.
This one's got the little tail on the side.
Wild.
Disparate. They were fairly close.
Sorry about
The
that.
simple fact that they
So if you
occurred.
see that little bubble right there, this is one image. Here's another image. The exact same. And the batch number, what is it, 5162?
Also, scanner 5162.
Okay, scanner.
Batch number 235. Image number 92. Matches of the same scanner 5162. Batch 234. Image 33.
So there you have it. Duplicate ballots. The entire batch.
So that's
Got you.
Are there
Y'all funny.
duplicate ballots there? And if you take this forward a little bit more, people have also alleged that maybe there were some illegal votes cast, and that's what they're trying to get to the bottom of, which is why it brings us full circle back to the legislation that is being debated now on Capitol Hill, and that would be the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act that the Democrats are losing their minds over. Oh my goodness, Chucky Schumer, he just can't imagine a world in which you actually have to show up with an ID to vote. I mean, despite the fact that the majority of the country is like, yes, please.
Right, you need an ID to vote. You need an ID to drive.
Even the mainstream media, the liberal mainstream media is all over Chucky on this.
You need an ID to buy a phone.
You know, if you look at the data, it shows that the majority of Americans are all for IDs. Let's go first to the CNN poll. Harry Enton explaining it. Everyone wants it. Okay, across both party lines, across all racial groups, everybody wants voter ID. So why are the Democrats so resistant?
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of Black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that
Right, having an ID is not racist. They just want to get the immigrants to get these IDs so they can vote. They're trying to outvote us, Black and brown people. Pay attention, y'all. Vote for common sense. They're trying to replace us. That's bogus.
in fact you should have a photo ID to be able to vote. So something not.
Yeah, I mean, it's not controversial. Okay, it's really and truly not controversial. And it's something that MSNBC even tried to point out to Chucky.
So, Leader Schumer, this talk about election security has revived discussions of
Right.
the SAVE Act.
Right, Andrew, it's simple.
Proponents of it say that it's, to have ID, you have to prove U.S. citizenship to be able to vote.
Thank you.
Claims they make, to be clear, are overstated. And we know there's not widespread election fraud. But polling does suggest, there's a new Pew Research poll, that 95% of Republicans, but also 71% of Democrats like this idea. So why do you not?
It's Jim Crow 2.0.
What?
It's called the Jim Crow 2.0.
And this is the party y'all, some of y'all voted for. I voted for it too. Man.
What they're trying to do here is the same
Big
thing
mistake.
that was done in the South for decades to prevent people of color from voting. For instance,
It's not even us. It's the immigrants to say that. The people that broke the law going across the border, coming across the border. Those are the ones y'all want. That's crazy. Just say it.
You're a woman who got married,
So you
and
don't
changed
want
your
us.
last name. You won't be able to show ID, and you'll be discriminated against. If you can't find a birth certificate or a proper ID, you'll be discriminated against. This is vicious and nasty. And I said to our
Okay, just say, if you're here illegally, you might be discriminated against because you really shouldn't be voting, right?
Republican colleagues, it will not pass this in.
I guarantee you right now, people in the streets that's homeless, they got IDs. Stop it. Homeless people in the streets right now in them tents on the side of the road, by a liquor store or somewhere else, whatever, they got IDs and they homeless. Make it make sense.
Senate. You will not get a single Democratic vote in the Senate. We're not reviving Jim Crow all over the country.
Jim Crow. I see.
Larry Bird, good morning.
What states don't allow it? I know that when I lived in New York, which is the state that Chuck Schumer is a senator in, guess what? You know what? We never had to provide ID when we went to vote. And I thought it was the strangest
Right, that's what he's doing. Good
I was
one.
worried. I'm like, is somebody actually I better bring my ID, because what if like I get there and they go down the voter rolls and they've already checked my name off? Like that would be kind of a problem. So what states?
Trump was a Democrat and he became a Republican, and all of a sudden everybody hate him.
And I think it's kind of
That's the thing. That's what happened. Trump flipped from being a Democrat to Republican. Now they want to hate on him.
I think it's kind of basic to expect that people should have some voter ID. This came up again.
You have Jesse Jackson campaign for presidency. I think twice.
Earlier, she was
that racist?
A little bit pushing Jacob Frey.
Kept out Mike Tyson.
Now Fry, however you say his name, and the Minneapolis mayor. And now she's out there pushing another representative, and it's like, wow, CNN trying to do its job. Amazing.
Congressman, of course, the president's allies say that this is all about the SAVE Act, which would require voter ID, although a fairly stringent.
If you're an American, ID is not a problem.
Voter ID is supported by the majority of Americans.
How this is an issue? Why is in a discussion?
And you voted against this.
That's funny.
Why not support voter ID?
Here we go.
Well, look. First of all, this is not a problem that people are identifying or recognizing in the states. The states and local governments are perfectly capable of identifying when there are problems. This is obviously being cooked up by Donald Trump to justify his persistent and utterly bogus claim that he won the 2020 election when Biden beat him by more than 7 million votes. But what's wrong with the SAVE Act? What's wrong with it is that it might violate the 19th Amendment, which gives women the right to vote, because you've got to show that all of your different IDs match. So if you're a woman who's gotten married and you've changed your name to your husband's name, but now your current name is different from your name at birth, now you've got to go ahead and document that. You need an affidavit explaining why. And why would we go to all of these?
Okay. The only reason they said because they
in order to keep people from voting when none of the states that are actually running the elections are telling us that there's any problem.
Right.
Yeah, maybe because they like it the way it is, right? They're all blue states, by the way. Massachusetts, Minnesota, Hawaii, Illinois, Connecticut, Delaware, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, as I said, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington. You don't need an ID to go and vote. And here they are. They're saying it's going to be Jim Crow. But then when you push them on it, they're like all about women. Wait, is it
amazing,
Jim Crow or is it
right.
married women? Suddenly, now you're encouraging
thank you guys.
Keep their names and
let's grow together. Thank you guys.
Women. Like, when did you ever care about married women before? I'm sorry, I'm not buying it, guys. I actually am one who thinks it's probably relevant to have an ID. Do you not have an ID for literally everything nowadays? I mean, how do you not have an ID? I mean, you can't get on a bus without an ID. You can't go to the doctor without an ID. You can't sign for FedEx sometimes without an ID. I mean, come on.
You need your ID when you do Uber Eats.
Like, if you don't have an ID, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you shouldn't be voting, right? Okay? Like, you ought to be able to get an ID. It's not that hard. So it does beg the question, why are they clinging to this? Especially at a time when we know that they were bringing millions and millions of people in here as illegals. With what? The intention that they would one day vote, dare I say, right? If you haven't subscribed to the show, please make sure you do that right now. Really, really important. The left is flipping out because it turns out the Washington Post actually wants to earn a profit. Imagine a newspaper that is in business, trying to make money, wanting to actually earn a profit. No, you can't. No, you don't understand. Like, the left is like, but you are here to serve us and to serve our needs, which means you must be anti-Trump all the time. And how dare you lay off 1/3 of the staff? I mean, it is a very difficult, challenging new media landscape. And the Washington Post has basically gone the way of, the buggy, right? The horse and buggy. It's like it's no longer relevant for most people. Is it the first newspaper you read every morning? I doubt it, okay? So maybe it just got a little too big and things have to change. But just don't tell the Dems that. Oh, and the libs, they're out protesting this one too.
We do. Who makes the post? We do. Who makes the post? We do. Who makes the post?
Cringe.
Oh, we do. So they're upset. They're losing their jobs. I mean, it's article after article after article, and all the liberal magazines like The Atlantic is all upset. You get Eugene Robinson, who used to be a Washington Post, was he a columnist, I believe, or some kind of editor, and he's now on MSNBC. And nice guy, actually. I've worked with him in the past and used to go on the Chris Matthews show quite a bit with him. Nice guy, but super liberal, okay? Like a super lib. And so he's got his view on things. And watch, they're saying, is this just about money or is it about something more? I'm telling you, these people do not want anybody earning a profit.
Good morning, Chris. Thanks for joining the chat. Good morning.
That's the question. Is this about money or only about money?
I would love to ask Jeff Bezos if this is only about money. I got to say, for 10 years, he bought the paper in 2013. And for 10 years, he was a model newspaper owner. He was really the best you could even hope for because not only did he support the Post's journalism fearlessly, but he provided resources that allowed the paper to grow and allowed it ultimately to become profitable. And that was about 3-4 years ago, say. And then the paper ran into some financial difficulties. We had probably in the year or two previous probably grown a bit too fast, and there wasn't really a plan for sustaining that path of growth. And so, yes, the paper has been losing money, but, just 1 second,
It's been losing money, but don't worry about that, right? Because it's great journalism. They bash Trump all day long, and that's all we need to do. Who needs to earn a profit? Well, Jeff Bezos is no fool.
What Jeff Bezos said when the day he bought the paper, he said, I don't think you can keep shrinking the business. You can be profitable and shrinking, and that's a survival strategy, but it ultimately
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
to irrelevance at best, and at worst, it leads to extinction. Now, those are his words, not mine. Yet he seems to forget or abandon or renounce those words because these cuts are like nothing we have seen before, and they will result in a radically different and lesser Washington Post.
Whoa!
Amazing.
Moral of the story: no, you can't make money. You can't make money in journalism.
Blessings. Thank you,
You are
guys.
there to serve.
Happy Monday to everybody. Let's grow together with this channel. Let's grow together with this channel. Let's grow.
Reiterated this last night at some journalism event there in DC. Listen to her.
A free press cannot fulfill its mission if it is starved of its resources it needs to survive. And when the newsrooms are weakened, our republic is weakened with it.
By the way, is it me or is everybody like just going on about their business, just eating their dinner and not really caring about anything she's saying? I mean, you can hear all the clinking of the silverware. Cheers. Okay, Nancy, you keep going.
Because democracy dies in darkness. Are we all ready to say that together? Democracy dies in darkness. Democracy dies in darkness.
Oh, great. That can be your new chant, right? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So, yeah, Nancy trying to rally the troops there. Come up with a new slogan, democracy dies in darkness. Look, it's a business like anything else, okay, guys? I'm sorry, you're losing one of your key players. I realize it's like MSNBC going out of business. I don't know what you're going to do. You know, that was one of your favorite hotspots where you felt that you really had a voice. But it's a business, okay? And Jeff Bezos is a business person, and Jeff Bezos needs to make sure that the thing is solvent. And they got to focus on the areas that are actually growing. And it's not having, a big sports desk. Interestingly enough, you'd actually think that sports would do okay. But in this particular time with this genre, no, sports is not going to grow. They're not going to have as big an international desk. They're not going to have as big a travel desk. They need to actually rein in expenses and find other more economical ways to do all of this. I mean, I keep making the point. Here I am in my studio, which is just a very, very limited team. And, I think about how I had tons and tons and tons of producers and tech people and everything throughout my career. And this is a very different kind of animal, right? I love it. And it's very intimate, and I get to see you and your comments and everything. And, you know, you're here for the good, bad, and the ugly. You know, occasionally the microphone goes out, but, you know, I fix it.
Shit happens.
It's a very, very different kind of genre here, what we're doing on YouTube and the podcast on Spotify, and I love it. I love every bit of it, but it's drastically different, and the economics of it are incredibly different, right? You don't have to employ 40 people, so it's a different model, and the problem for some of these bigger legacy businesses, including newspapers, is that they're not adapting. They can't adapt. They have newsrooms that are very rigid, people that are very stuck in their ways. You have only to look at what's going on at CBS to see that right now in real time. I mean, Barry Weiss can't get to first base with these people because they have their way of doing things, and that's all that they will accept, period, end of story. And so she's going to find herself having to basically fire the entire newsroom before it's all said and done, which, you know, you might say, okay, great. David Ellison wants to reinvent news. He wants to reinvent how people get their news. The problem is you bought a freaking legacy business. And I don't think you can do a lot with a legacy business like that because you get too many legacy people that aren't willing, ready, able to change. They're not nimble. They're set in their ways, including their sort of TDS bias. And it is TDS. It's anything he wants to do, anything at all. They're automatically going to say this is the worst thing ever. My son is doing a project at school, and he's reading a biography on Harry S. Truman. And so I was looking at this biography. It was David McCullough who had written it. It's like this big, big, thick biography. And I said to my husband, do you think they'll ever give a fair biographical representation of Donald Trump? And we kind of laughed about it. I'm like, maybe in, I don't know, 50 or 100 years, I actually think he's going to go down as one of the best presidents ever, who had tremendous foresight and saw the future effectively right upon our doorstep and helped America move forward as we come up on the 250th anniversary, right? We want to make it another 250. And so you got to be enacting the right kinds of policies in the here and now to do that. But the left is so vitriolic. They are so rigid. They are so unwilling to compromise, and they are so willing to take this to the nth degree. I mean, the guy's a Nazi as far as they're concerned.
Sure.
I'm sorry, but like, you cannot keep saying this. You cannot say he's a racist. He's a Nazi. For goodness sakes, his daughter's Jewish, right? She's converted. I'm sick of it. And I think overall Americans are sick of it. The problem is we've got midterms coming up, all right?
Midterms. Vote for common sense, everybody. Get a vote for common sense.
Everybody comes out in droves. So how do you excite people? I think this is going to be the real challenge, and I'm glad that they're going to be doing the big the convention, right? The convention. I think that's going to be really helpful to try and help motivate people for sure. But without a doubt, the media business is cooked. Okay, cooked. It's a good thing I'm over here. I just wish I came earlier. By the way, make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that stuff. I just want to give a shout out to one of my former colleagues, Savannah Guthrie. This story is absolutely just heinous, absolutely horrendous. I feel terrible for her. I feel terrible for her family. It is just it's a really, really awful, awful, awful situation. Savannah Guthrie releasing a post on Instagram last night that actually had me basically on the brink of tears. I mean, this is just so horrible.
That's who's running the country, Obama. Joe Biden wasn't doing it.
Early in the afternoon, and he sent out
Joe Biden was not running the country.
He also
I mean, it was his basement more than anything, in Delaware more than anything.
On Savannah Guthrie, and then we'll get to Savannah and the Instagram.
They put up a fake studio. He wasn't even in office.
These people that are demanding a ransom, but first to the president.
Came out on Savannah Guthrie's mom missing in Arizona.
I think it's terrible.
Would you commit to more federal agents like helping out on the
Sure, I would. I'm going to call her later on. I think it's a terrible thing. I always get along very good with Savannah. Very unusual situation, but we're going to find out.
It is an unusual situation. You know, TMZ got a ransom note just yesterday, and then we learned today that allegedly there was a deadline of 5 o'clock tonight, and they said you have to meet the deadline with the transfer of Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin's going up in smoke, right, in value, right, in real time. So I imagine the Bitcoin demand is going up as we speak. But they were demanding Bitcoin, and the family came out and issued a statement. I want to point out that the brother just a short time ago actually said again that, you know, that they're willing to talk. I'll quote from what he just said. This would be Cameron Guthrie, who you'll see in the video with his sister Savannah and his other sister. They're begging for his mom Nancy's return. But he said, whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. In other words, they sent these ransom notes demanding millions of dollars for the mother's release, but they were only sent to local news stations as well as TMZ. So what was that about? Let's go to Savannah's very just heartbreaking response last night. Just, terrible, terrible stuff. And there's not a lot you can say in a moment like this. And I hate to speculate too much because there's a lot we don't know, but let's at least hear from her.
That wine sucks, damn.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and
American gunsmith. No, I shouldn't have done it. It was all in the, it was all not. It wasn't English.
and clever. She has grandchildren that
Thank you, guys.
adore
Thank you.
her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
Right, every country against ICE, it makes no sense. If you come to the country the right way, ICE won't bother you. That's the whole thing. You can't just walk in here without knowing who you are, what you're about.
She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day. Despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief, we are always going to be merely human. Just normal human people who need our mom. Mama.
I stand with ICE. Most definitely, I stand with ICE.
We need you to come home. We miss you. Our mom is our heart and our home. She's 84 years old. Her health.
Here we go with the name calling. Jumping in chat with the name calling. My name is Deontay. How you doing?
At this hour right now, we don't really have much more information other than the family has reached out via these public forums to try to negotiate there with the people that are allegedly holding her for ransom, but there's no proof of life. They asked in that video for some kind of proof of life. They don't have that. Savannah Guthrie making the point that in today's day and age with AI, you can kind of take anyone's image, and the mother had appeared quite often on the Today Show with her daughter, and so she was known, I guess, to the audience. I know that the investigators are looking at people that may have been sort of overly aggressive fans that were sending her stuff, to the studio, etc. So that's one avenue that they're pursuing. It's sort of mind-boggling, and it's very mysterious. You heard the president say a very, very strange case.
Right, Keith.
They're putting all these resources on it. We saw last night that there were all these FBI choppers, and the FBI descended on her mother's residence there in Arizona. But here we are, this many days later. I think it's been 4 or 5 days, and we have no real leads as far as what we're hearing on this side of things. The expectation is it's somebody who probably knew her and knew the house, because they did actually cut the security cameras. So that's concerning. It happened in the dead of the night. They had some blood that was found outside the home, and so they do believe there's some foul play and something precarious happened. But again, the family's pointed out she needs her medicine. She needs she has a heart condition, etc., and they don't know how much longer she can make it without the proper medicine. One would imagine, again, Savannah Guthrie is obviously highly experienced in the media, and one would imagine that I think one of the reasons she put that out there was to make sure that she was communicating somehow with these ransom kidnappers, because she wanted them to know, listen, my mom needs
I did not speak English properly.
Hey, if you're going to
Are you kidding me?
make sure that you do.
Wow.
News stations getting this, TMZ getting it. I don't know what to
Amazing.
think, because my thought on this is, hey, you know, if you're somebody who is trying to gain something out of
43 years old. I'm pretty sure I speak pretty good English.
Go out there and say,
43.
oh, well, let me just throw this ransom note to TMZ in the hope and a prayer that maybe I get something out of the family. Who knows? But this is what TMZ unveiled just yesterday afternoon.
So we got something in our email that looks like it's written like a ransom note for Savannah Guthrie's mother.
Specific request,
and they're very
certain amounts of money,
very specific.
Bitcoin.
And also they say at the bottom, there are certain things they're saying about what she was wearing and damage to the house.
That they're clearly saying to verify that
it's us.
We know what we're talking about here.
So we've contacted the Sheriff's Department, and we want to get them this letter. We had a little trouble getting through to the right person, but the person we spoke with is now forwarding this to somebody in the detective bureau. So if my phone rings, I may have to stop. And
what's interesting is, you know, there was just a news conference that just ended with the sheriff, and he was asked about, we're going to do this segment in a few minutes, but he was asked about a ransom note, and he just said, we're following all leads.
Yeah, and it's again, we don't know
if this is legit,
if it's authentic or not. But when you read it, they're acting as if, only we would know these things.
Amazing.
We're serious, and there's a dollar demand.
Thank you.
And or else in there. Mm-hmm. So we will let you know as this thing kind of develops.
It's peculiar, right, that they sent it to TMZ, except that I think they probably knew TMZ would indeed publish it rather than take it straight to the FBI. And so maybe that was the method to the madness. If they had sent it perhaps directly to the Today Show itself, the Today Show might have, out of respect, obviously, for Savannah, have taken that straight to authorities and waited for some kind of, to green light to move forward with the story. So I think that maybe that's why they took it to TMZ and the local news media. I'm not entirely sure, but it's just god-awful stuff, right? And we wish her and her family all the best. It's a mystery that's certainly captivating the nation, and everybody's thoughts and prayers are with her right now. My very best to her and to her entire family. Listen, it's great to have you guys here. I hate to end on such a sad darn note, right? I mean, what a way to end the show. Oh my goodness. And I see Gimsley girl, you haven't forgotten how she treated President Trump. I actually had forgotten that. I didn't think it was as awful as, say, I don't know, Norah O'Donnell's treatment of him or Margaret Brennan's treatment of him. So, as far as, or even the woman who now hosts Meet the Press, I've seen some pretty, we've got PTSD though, right? We're like abused victims because he's been treated so badly by so many members of the media that if, you're just not that bad, then it's like, oh, okay. Anyway, it's great to have you guys all here. Thank you for tuning in. Ilhan, Omar, I think justice is coming to you, lady. Watch out, watch out. Good to see you guys. I'll see you back on the show live again tomorrow. Don't forget Spotify. Go check that one out too.
Mask off the ICE agents. You can't do that for their safety. Just simply their safety alone. Remember, they doxed these individuals. They went to their hotels or where they think they are. They went to the place of worship. They've showed up at where they eat for their own safety. They can't be exposing their face out there like that. When they start talking about judicial warrants, if they actually required you to have a judicial warrant on every individual you picked up that was here illegally, the entire country would become a sanctuary city. So.
This will be the last video, guys. Get something to eat with the wife. I thank you guys for joining in. This will be the last video, probably about like 20 minutes. I'll be back again. I'll be back soon. Let's grow together with this channel. Thank you, guys. I do YouTube shorts, long video reactions, iHeartRadio. Let's grow together. Thank you.
But if they want to start talking about like training, of course, let's talk about training. If they wanted to improve the training of the individuals to help them do their job more effectively, then I would be happy to discuss that. They talk about body cameras. Well, this DHS bill that we have right in front of us that passed out of the House with bipartisanship prior to them planting their flag like they have now. Keep in mind that had $20 million in it for body cameras. So we'll have an open discussion with them, but we are not going to prohibit ICE from enforcing the nation's laws at all. We support DHS. We support what the ICE agent is doing. And look at what we've been able to do in the Border Patrol just because we allowed the law enforcement to do their job.
Boy. So we got to talk about this very enlightening exchange between Representative Tony Gonzalez of Texas and Face the Nation Democrat propagandist host Margaret Brennan, who basically is going to confront Tony Gonzalez on why is it that Republicans aren't folding to Democrats when it comes to their demands to undermine ICE and to allow illegal immigrants to stay in this country. And I want to
subscribe.
I think this is a good conversation in regards to how Republicans are thinking about the current negotiation when it comes to the funding of DHS. Okay, as you guys know, Democrats are basically trying to hold DHS funding hostage in order to get changes to ICE, which let's be honest. Democrats don't really want changes because they like the fact that there's a lot of chaos that's going on in the streets. They like the fact that liberals are sacrificing their lives to protect illegal immigrants because it helps Democrats maintain power and control, right? It motivates the lunatics to get out and vote, and it radicalizes them. So low-key, they like it. And I think that they're doing a lot of this just to grandstand and pretend like they're doing something so that the lunatics don't feel like they're completely useless, right? When it comes to this situation involving ICE and the illegal immigrants. Because let's be real. If ICE stopped deporting the illegal immigrants, Democrats will have one less issue to radicalize their base over, right? So I understand the politics behind this, and I'm hoping that the Trump administration and the Republicans do not fold to Democrats and their ridiculous demands. Because, again, a lot of this is just grandstanding at the end of the day. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
So Friday, Homeland Security funding is going to expire. Right. And there's this standoff in the Senate in particular. Democrats are demanding a number of reforms, and I want to lay them out here. And this is sort of the cost of their vote. Democrats want to require a judicial warrant, not just an administrative one, to enter private property. They want federal law enforcement agents to show ID, wear body cameras, standard uniforms, no masks, protect sensitive locations like schools and churches, stop racial profiling, coordinate with local jurisdictions to prosecute crimes. Are you on...
AKA don't do anything, right? If they actually agree to this stupid list of demands, basically what they be doing is setting up places, again, like schools and churches where, hey, it's off limits. If you're an illegal immigrant and you don't want to get deported, then... You know, hey, we already know you can go to a couple places where it's totally fine, it's totally okay. The feds are not going to come after you, right?
Amazing.
They say, well, we want to stop racial profiling. What does that mean? Well, just stop questioning illegals in the first place, right? Stop questioning them, okay? Stop pulling them over. Coordinate with local jurisdictions to prosecute potential crimes. The sanctuary cities don't want to work with the feds, right? So since they don't want to work with feds, and Democrats are saying, we require that they do work with local jurisdictions, that's basically a non-starter, right? That basically just means that, hey, we don't want you to deport anybody, right? To stop deporting, stop doing your job, okay? So understand that this is a poison pill, that none of this stuff is workable, and that this is not a serious negotiation for Democrats. This is grandstanding.
Board with any of these demands. Do you see a deal?
You be eating. Thank you. Appreciate
I think
it.
we need to work through it. There's some things that make sense.
Thank you for the gift. Thank you so much.
Just a few days
Thank
ago, this was a bipartisan vote, and all of a sudden now the Democrats are all trying to hold the country hostage. I'll tell you what's not going to be in there. Amnesty for illegal aliens. I'll tell you what's not going to be there. Stripping away protections for law enforcement officers that are trying to protect themselves. If rioters get to wear masks, then law enforcement gets to wear masks as well. What can be in there? I think the body cameras make a lot of sense. I was really encouraged to see Secretary Noem and Tom Homan.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Those are good parts of it. And another thing that works, going back to my district, another thing that works is communication. I think it'd be very, very key if there were communication liaisons in all the communities that ICE has, meaning not changing policy, just sharing communication from the community, let's say the city manager, or let's say city council, community leaders, up to the administration and back down. I saw the Biden administration do this with ranch liaisons when the ranchers were really upset. And once again, that helped. These are a couple things that I think could make it, could be the glue that gets gets this package going.
Well, here's the thing. I like the body cameras. And the reason why I like the body cameras is because the body cameras tell the truth, right? The body cameras are the biggest threat to the Democrats in their narrative, okay? When stuff happens, aka one of these liberals ends up winning a Darn Award, then the body camera tells the truth about what happened. When some of these illegals get deported and then they boo-hoo whine and crying, the body camera tells the truth. So I like the body cameras. I personally believe that, these local jurisdictions should be required to work with ICE. If Democrats want to throw that in there, right, since, they are saying that ICE has to work with local jurisdictions, okay, fine. Then require local jurisdictions actually work with ICE. Get rid of the sanctuary cities. Get rid of the sanctuary cities, body cameras. Hey, we might have something to work with, but we know that Democrats don't really want to do that. They don't want to do that. That makes too much sense, okay? That makes too much sense.
The administration will go along with that coordination with local officials.
Yeah, absolutely. The liaison piece makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, that one, once again, ICE is not going to stop going to these communities. It would be helpful if we had many Tom Homans all throughout the country basically saying, this is what we're doing, not leaving things to what ifs and letting other people fill that void, but an actual sharing up and down the chain of command.
Let me ask you about the warrants here. The Trump administration has changed how to use warrants in arrests. They permit warrantless arrests as well. This wasn't done even during the first Trump administration. Leader Jeffries was on another network this morning and said judicial warrants should absolutely be required before ICE agents can storm private property. It should not be controversial, this demand. They just want adherence to Fourth Amendment constitutional protections. As a conservative, shouldn't a judge be consulted?
Of course, I believe in the Fourth Amendment, but what worries me is a judge should not hold up everything. We're seeing judges all over the country go beyond their level of authority. And so if a law enforcement officer, let's just say, for example, sees a crime that's being committed has due cause, then why can't they go in there? These administrative warrants, they aren't new. All of a sudden, the left
There's new interpretation of them, and the ICE director has disclosed that.
Well, they're complaining about the use of them. But if you're an ICE agent and you don't have cooperation from local
Charles, good morning.
Officials, how are you supposed to get that criminal
When
that's
did
in
ICE
somebody's
have already
community? How are you supposed to remove them? That's what worries me. If we allow judges to be the roadblock, it doesn't keep our community safe.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've learned the judicial branch, at least the lower level, okay, not the Supreme Court, the lower level.
Oh, yeah, God bless everybody.
Woke activists, right? And we can't depend on woke activists to do.
You gotta have common sense around here. Pray for common sense for everybody.
Right? And that's the thing that I love about this administration, right? The second administration is that they're not letting the bureaucratic nonsense stop them from doing what must be done, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, the illegals have to be deported, and we're not going to be stopped by woke judges, activist judges who aren't following the law. We're not going to. See, Democrats, what they want to do, they want to hold up everything.
So disrespectful, MT.
Endless paperwork. They want an unlimited amount of appeals, right? They want an unlimited amount of court appearances and trials and all that stuff. And it's like, we cannot deport millions of illegals doing that. You just can't do it. Democrats know that. Everybody knows that. Okay? Biden let in millions of illegals at one time, right? They didn't all have a court appearance and go through due process to be allowed into. No, they were just allowed in. So we can't go through this long, drawn-out process with every single illegal in order to deport them. We're just not going to do it. But the intent is to run out the clock. They want to run out the clock on the Trump administration so that as many illegals as possible can stay, right? And Democrats need the illegals to stay because they need that population boost, specifically in blue states. They really, really, really need the illegals in the blue states. They really do, okay? So I just want people to understand the incentive here for Democrats. Run out the clock, allow as many illegals as possible to stay, while at the same time radicalizing their base in order to vote for them in the midterms. That's what they want to do.
So that's a hard line for you in terms of you would never get on board with requiring that a judicial warrant be required to enter private property.
Administrative warrants work. I want to give law enforcement every tool they need to go out and apprehend these convicted criminals that are loose in our community. To me, that makes a lot of sense. Why you would want to shackle your own law enforcement from keeping our community safe?
Okay, if you had voted for Tampon Tim and Laughing Hyena, Kamala Harris, the vote, this fraud with Minnesota probably even came out. Probably not as fast, but it would definitely be under the rug. but now it's exposed. I'm glad it is. Fraud is bad, not racist.
Fourth Amendment protects all people, regardless of citizenship or national origin, from unreasonable search and seizure. So some of those collateral arrests are warrantless, but that's the politics of this funding bill. I'll put the policy
Well, they're here illegally and they get caught up, then hey, it is what it is.
Right? I don't know everything. I'm here to learn with you guys. I don't know everything.
That everything in the Constitution should apply to illegal immigrants. And it's like, well, if that's the case, then what rights do American citizens have, right? That are outside of illegals and people who are non-citizens, right? Is there no difference between a citizen and a non-citizen and a legal immigrant at this point, right? At this point, illegals can become superintendents, police officers. They can apparently run for office. Democrats want them to vote. They get access to welfare, right? Benefits, food stamps. Hell, I mean, ain't no difference between being an illegal and an American citizen, according to Democrats and mainstream liberal media. So let's fast forward here.
And in the Texas press, that there's a lot of focus on the Latino voters as having really swung back or swung to the Democratic Party. Why? What's happening?
People are anxious.
Is it the deportation policy?
It's some of what's being portrayed, and one of the things I think is very effective for the administration is for them to highlight the people that they're deporting, put them on the website, show them, and go, these are the folks that we're coming after. I would argue the Hispanic vote is what gave us, the Republicans, the House, the Senate, and the White House. And if we want to keep that long term, we do have to make a shift, not necessarily in policy, but in communication. I mentioned this earlier, a communication liaison of someone saying, hey, this is what we're doing, working with others, so it's not just a surprise. Prime example, San Antonio. We have a new ICE facility built in San Antonio. A lot of people are anxious. They don't know what's happening. This is $125 million that's coming to the community, have 1,200 jobs, and after it gets established, there'll be another $125 million with 325 good-paying jobs for our local community.
Well, here's the thing, though, right? Here's the thing about the whole, the messaging or whatever. That is what we're doing. We are highlighting the violent criminals, right? The problem is that when we do it, we put their faces up. The mainstream little media, they censor it, right? You guys remember when they put the faces of the illegals, the violent criminals at the White House, right?
Right, it's crazy.
Mainstream little media, they censored it. Because they didn't want you to see
Subscribe.
of the violent illegals, right? That's what we're dealing with here, right? We're dealing with a media that is against enforcing
Boy Scout, thank you.
Right?
Appreciate it.
You understand that, hey,
thank you so much.
It's a propaganda game, right, from the media, and that it's an uphill battle. Ultimately,
Boy Scout, thank you. Appreciate that. I was a Boy Scout too when I was young. Shoot 287 in Chicago.
Apologetic about what we're doing. When you start apologizing and you start talking about, ICE can do this, they can do that, but no, we're unapologetic about what we're doing because what we're doing is right, and we're not going to capitulate to these people, right? That's what you have to do. That's the stance you got to take.
Respectfully, in the past, you have said this isn't just a PR problem. You actually looked at the numbers and found that it was not the worst of the worst in those detention facilities.
Right. It's not a PR problem. It has to be. It
is a policy problem.
It has to be a policy. And what I am seeing is they are going after the worst of the worst. They're talking about we're going after the worst of the worst. The part I think we can improve on is communicating with the local municipalities, those that don't have an idea, and be able to go, no, that you have a seat at the table. We want you to have a seat at the table. Even if it's different, even if it's a different conversation or a different ideology, you should have a seat at the table. So that way your citizens know what's happening in your community.
But see, they don't want to do that, though. They don't want to cooperate. That's the problem. And this is what the media refuses to acknowledge, which is that they don't want to cooperate with the federal government, right? And as long as they don't want to cooperate, then you're going to have this chaos.
Trump
that's
was
crazy.
Not the first president of the United States to detain children.
Sure.
You have this facility, though, in your district, Dilley, and that's is
crazy.
for family detentions. That's where little 5-year-old Liam Ramos from Minnesota was held before a judge. That's the picture of him there. Ordered him released. He was ordered released because his family is a pending asylum claim, a legal process. He had entered with U.S. government permission through a process that the Biden administration had deemed legal. The current administration does not, the CBP 1M. Liam's father gave an interview to Telemundo, and you read the transcript. He's talking about this 5-year-old. He's not okay. He's waking up at night crying. He's worried he's going to be taken again.
Sounds like bullshit. Sounds like emotion. right? I don't give a damn about that. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I don't care about that. Is he in the country legally or illegally? That's all.
Ain't that something? Girl Scouts stayed the same, with the Boy Scouts changed.
Because ultimately, at the day,
They want to add the girls to the boys or something like that. It's crazy.
I'm gonna keep it 100 with you.
It's psychological trauma, according to the father. And the administration is still trying to deport him. Do you understand why they are so focused on this 5-year-old and his dad if they did come in through the front door with U.S. government permission?
Well, the front door was via an app, but that Biden knew exactly what he was doing, and he created this huge mess that now President Trump is there to clean up. And
but he came in the front door. He wasn't sneaking across the border.
Through an app that wasn't vetted, and the bottom line is that they're not going to qualify for asylum. So what do you do with all the people that go through the process and do not qualify for asylum? You deport them. I understand the 5-year-old, and it breaks my heart.
No, I'm not researched what's in the cookies. What the heck? What's in the cookies?
You feel comfortable defending that?
Oh my goodness!
I feel comfortable.
Not
we
the
have
cookies.
to have a nation of laws. If we don't have a nation of laws,
They were following the law.
I'd also say this.
That's the rub. It's that the new administration deemed the last administration's regulation not to be
That's
legal.
amazing.
Yeah, and then we're enforcing that. We're enforcing our
Thank you.
interpretation of it. So therefore,
Let's continue to grow together. Let's grow together.
Because, again, nobody ever feels bad for the American citizens, the American children who are harmed by these illegal immigrants, right? Everybody wants us to feel bad for the illegals who are children who are here. But when has Margaret Brennan ever felt bad about the negative things that happen to American citizens as a result of illegal immigrants? She never goes on air and says, hey, what about Lake and Raleigh? What about Jocelyn Nungrave, right? What about all of the American citizens, children included, who have been victims of violence from illegals? You never hear it. But they want me to feel bad about some 5-year-old who's, the child of an illegal immigrant, potentially having to go back to their home country. Like, come on, man. You're not gonna get me with that. You're not going to get me. Okay, you're not gonna get me.
be compassionate, and we can also enforce our laws. And I think that's the secret sauce that the administration and Congress must do. Let's enforce our laws, but let's do it in a humane
Thank you, Boy
way.
Scout.
The facility in Dilley, I've visited there many times. I've visited dozens of different facilities. It is a nice facility. It's a detention facility for people that are in the country illegally that are about to be deported, but it is a nice facility, nicer than some elementary schools here in San Antonio.
Advocates have said otherwise, but quickly before I let you go.
Yeah, but see, the problem is that we actually have footage of the so-called Nazi detention camp, and this is it.
Big difference.
This is what they were complaining about. Oh, I sent this 5-year-old to a place that looks like a library, right? A Nazi detention camp, right? Huh.
Amazing.
They play basketball, they got volleyball, got a little gym.
See that? Gotta do more research, y'all. Do more research.
Wow,
That's crazy.
terrible. Again, I was told that this is a concentration camp.
right.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. These people make me sick. Can't stand them. Can't stand them. But anyways, yeah, I mean, Republicans should not fold to demands from Democrats, especially when you talk about unmasking ICE agents, not allowing them to raid certain places, all that BS that they're demanding. Nah, we can't do it, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, Democrats are grandstanding, and the mass deportations must happen. We cannot let Democrats and woke judges and the liberal media get in the way. It is what it is. Okay, it is what it is. We're enforcing the law in this country. Biden let in millions of illegals, and we got to do what we got to do in order to right the wrong. And if we don't, then that basically says that it's okay to allow millions of illegals to the country. Nothing will ever be done about it, and we can't set that precedent, right? We can't do it. So, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys. I've been live streaming for about 2 hours. I got to go ahead and cut it a little short. I usually go about like 3 to 4 hours, even longer than that, but got to cut it short. Thank you, guys. Blessing to you guys. Let's grow together with this channel. Thank you. Let's grow together.